And streaming online and in the Odyssey app at The Fan Rochester. The sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan Rochester, an Odyssey sports station.
It's time to start the show and talk about the sports we saw. Inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia. Bills and the Sabres and the Amherst. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
Hey, welcome to the Sports Bar. Pull up a stool and join us, 866-4FAN, 866-4326. We are streaming live on YouTube and Twitch. We're on 95.7 FM, AM 950, and always streaming in the free-to-download Odyssey app. Many different platforms you can listen in on or watch. Good afternoon.
Don't bury the lead, Gino. I mean, he won the press conference. Let's talk about it. Joe Brady, baby.
Now, can I just say something negative?
No. Okay, fine.
If your wife goes into labor, be with your wife. If we're going to knock on Adam Gase for spending 1 hour with his wife, you get the call on a game day that your wife is going into labor, and then you find out after the game that she delivers, I'm sorry. That's a turnoff to me. Like, go be with your wife. I find it ironic because we talked to Brandon Beane at training camp, and he's talking about how he wants to establish a culture. You remember this, Danger? Hey, you know what? If I find out that, you missed your kid's recital because you were watching film or doing something, well, then you're going to hear it from me. I don't know. In the world of contradictions. But how are you today, my friend?
I'm good. So, full disclosure, I've only seen clips of the press conference. I know we're going to play it back later, which is good because I want to actually hear everything. Is that something that came out of the press conference? Yeah. Joe Brady's wife had a kid when he was coaching?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, that was when he was doing his thank yous at the beginning. And, when he's looking at his wife, and he admits that he was a little emotional seeing some of the players there, and then he realized, oh my gosh, my wife is also here, my family is also here, and he shares that story.
Well, that's a little bit different.
Yeah,
that's different than McDermott. Right there is if you're looking for differences between Brady and McDermott, I would say that's probably a difference. And I wonder, to your point about what Beane used to say, was that the influence of Sean McDermott? Like, hey, I want all of us to have lives outside of this facility. I want you to be there for your kids. I want you to be there for your family. Because we know that's kind of Sean McDermott's makeup. That's who he is.
Sean McDermott, and look, nothing wrong with that. There was one day at camp where like, wait, where's Sean McDermott? You know what? His son's playing in an important tournament for him down in Cooperstown.
Correct.
He's spending the day there. The coordinators are, okay.
Right.
It's a long year.
But now you've got this guy coming in saying, yeah, is my wife here? Oh, hey, honey. Yeah, love the players. My wife's okay.
Danger, I listened to the whole thing. We carried it live earlier, and again, as you mentioned, we will replay it. It doesn't have the juiciness, if you will, when you had that unscripted mess with Terry Pegula last week. Terry Pegula did not speak.
Thank God.
And as far as Brady, he's hitting the right notes. He's coached up. He's got a little bit of polish on him. So if you're a Bills fan, you're feeling pretty good. As far as answers today, I don't know who they're going to hire as the defensive coordinator. We will have to wait and see. Joe Brady did confirm he is going to be calling the plays on offense, which kind of goes against what Brandon Beane was saying as a CEO he's looking for. Well, that sounds a little more hands-on and not delegating as a CEO might, but okay. And Josh Allen, he sat in on these interviews, Danger, but didn't really say anything. But Brandon Beane, this is me paraphrasing, saying, hey, we weren't going to hire anybody that Josh wasn't cool with. So in a way, Josh Allen had some sort of veto power, but Josh Allen not asking questions. He's just there sitting, listening in. And I'm sure, when the interviews were over, hey, what did you think? To me, also a headline story is, hey, Josh Allen actually broke his fifth metatarsal.
Dude played on a broken foot. What was Cleveland, week 16?
Yeah.
So week 16, he breaks his foot, plays through a broken foot. Week 17, Week 18, 1 snap. But then Jacksonville and Denver on a broken foot.
So it all makes sense. It checks out because after the Philadelphia game, he walks right over to the X-ray room, which I don't know. Probably imagine that that's not going to be in full view of the media in the new stadium.
Oh, that's right. That was in Philly, the Philly game.
The Philly game.
Philly.
So back, okay, something's wrong here. And if you can just kind of connect dots, hey, it's broken. You can't do any more damage. Can you manage the pain? That's why when Josh Allen asked today, hey, if we were playing football, I would figure this out, was his exact quote. But just to see him in a walking boot and crutches today, okay, that was a little different.
Well, I guess that means we won't be seeing him in the flag football game next week. But better him to rest. I think.
Yeah.
Better course of action. All right, so we've got the Joe Brady press conference to react to. We're going to be joined later this hour from Maggie Gray, Bills Mafia.
Yeah.
And we'll get her take on the week that has been. I mean, crazy to think that it was the middle of last week when we had the press conference, that this coaching search lasted less than 7 days, and that today we're announcing Joe Brady as the new head coach of the Buffalo Bills. Where does the team go from here? What does Maggie think of all of this? We haven't talked to her since before the Jacksonville game, so we'll get some fresh perspective from Maggie Gray here in about 20 minutes.
Yeah, and it's a fair question if you're a Bills fan. Does anything really change? Did this really change? And Brandon Beane went out of his way to just say how the process was, that even though I knew Joe Brady, I'm going to pretend like I don't know anything about you. They just tried to. And they went into this, according to Beane, just kind of with a clear mind. And they talked to 9 candidates. And by the end, they had it whittled down. And they came back to, all right, they had the second interview with Brady. And by the second interview, they kind of knew, okay, he's our guy at that point.
We didn't hear anything about the second interview, right? We heard about the first interview. The second interview must have been under the cloak of darkness. Yeah. But, it was an intense process. But, Brady made it known that he didn't really sleep much, and that this was the job he wanted, not that he would say anything else. And I think that was part of this, too, is that the Bills knew they had a known commodity in Joe Brady. And how much of this hiring is Liam Cohen? How much of this hiring is Mike McDonald? Guys that you had within your organization that go on and do bigger and better things when you had them all along right there under your roof. You don't let that go. And, I don't know that Brady is that caliber of coach or will be, but, somebody from the Sean Payton tree, somebody who cut his teeth working with that guy who had one hell of a game called against the Bills in the divisional round. We'll see. We'll see how it all goes.
Yeah. 866-4FA, and I love our historian Chris writing in. The quote here was, "If you miss your kid's recital, you'll be hearing from me." That was Brandon Beane. Mm-hmm. A little bit of a new culture there, maybe.
Right. Well, also, though, when you go to training camp, hey, it's nice to get away. You don't have to go pick up your prescriptions at the drugstore. You don't have to be there for the feedings.
Hey, hon, can you pick this up from CVS?
I think if Brandon Beane had his choice, he'd be at the facility all the time and not have to go home and do the dad things that you do, but I got to change a diaper. I got to run to the store. Yeah, he'd probably rather be in the office looking over film or looking at prospects. So we've got a lot to unpack, and we have time for your calls at 866-4326.
Yeah, 86. Well, I mean, go right to the heavy hitter right off the top. Dr. Neal joining us. Hi, Neal.
Guys, I have the box of tissues from listening to that press conference, and I think we just learned you got to hug somebody. After listening to all this, I mean, my God.
Lots of love.
Oh, I love you guys, man. By the way, whoever did that introductory song for you guys, top notch.
Oh, yeah, that's Sean from Long Island. Thank you for that.
I the more I learn about you guys, the more I like. But now you get your own song. I mean, that's very, very, very cool. Anyway, so, oh boy, where do we start with this? So, I got to be honest, this press conference actually left me with more questions than answers. And it starts with Brandon Beane's opening remarks. I mean, he's, as you said in the open, we were looking for a CEO type of coach, a fresh new vision for the Buffalo Bills. Well, if you wanted that CEO with the fresh vision and an aggressive communicator, that sounds impressive on paper, but let's be honest, that's not what actually happened here. They fired Sean McDermott last week. They talk about the playoff wall and taking responsibility with no more excuses, right? Then they interview 8 candidates along with Phillip Rivers. Put in all that time and then promote the in-house OC who's really only had 2 full season calling plays and no head coaching experience. That's not a CEO level hire. That's not doing your due diligence. You hire a CEO for a company or a chief operating officer. You don't just hire and bring in 8 different people. And then after all of it say, you know what? We're just going to play it safe. Thanks for your time. This feels like a giant, colossal waste of everybody's time at the essence of all this. I mean, it's not a CEO level hire with a truth, vision, or aggression. It's playing it safe. It's continuity dressed up as something new. To quote, it's full of sound and fury, but signifying nothing. Joe Brady, now himself, he nailed the press conference. He hit all the right notes. He said all the right things. He showed the emotion. He showed the deference to the management. Joe Brady, Josh Allen's in a boot, which, oh my gosh, he played with a broken foot. They all show up to his press conference like, he's your 7-year-old kid who's, singing Christmas carols and you're obligated to attend. I mean, it's just continuity dressed up as something new. And if you wanted someone genuine, right, someone intelligent and aggressive to run the whole building, the staff, the defense, and let's be honest, the pressure Pagula now has put on this job with Super Bowl or bust stakes, why not swing big here? Why would we not wait for Clint Kubiak? Why did we decide that we had to rush this thing and stay safe inside the organization? And then Bean, what a petulant narcissist. He says, we learned a lot from the other interviews. But then halfway through Joe's interview, he admits, oh, yeah, this is our guy. I mean, it feels like that Brandon Bean was using these big CEO words, right, to sell the process. But the end result is just familiar and low risk. And look, it's good to know that I can spend time with my wife if she ever gets pregnant. I mean, I want to thank Joe Brady for clarifying that because I wasn't sure that's the right thing to do in my own personal life. So I do appreciate that, right? And he's like, his kids are Buffalo born. There's no else he'd rather be, riffing on Marv Levy and all that. But at the end of the day, he just sounded like a politician saying a lot but saying nothing concrete. And is that what we really wanted in this press conference? I mean, yes, I give him credit. He's positive. He's energetic. He's enthusiastic. He did everything you want from someone who genuinely got a promotion. He did. It was an in-house safe promotion, but he got the promotion. And he's clearly happy to get started. And he's talking about, I love you guys. I love the Bills. Josh Allen shows up with a boot for support on all of this. But in this high-stakes spot, right, because this is a high-stakes spot with zero margin for error after the playoff issues, right? All the years that Sean McDermott just was good enough but just not good enough.
Land the plane, Neil.
Land the plane. Is this really the aggressive CEO fire that we were promised?
Appreciate that, buddy. I think the jury's out. And you could say that swing would have been Clint Kubiak or could have been Clint Kubiak. I don't know.
Well,
I don't know that.
I will say this. We will look 5 years into the future, and 5 years from now, maybe it's Udinsky, maybe it's Shalil House. You will have all these other candidates and be like, oh, my gosh, we could have had that guy.
Yeah, I think the other thing of this, too, and this is specific to Pagula, remember the time he took a swing and he kind of went off the board and he did something different and unorthodox and went outside of the traditional norms of what you do for a head coaching search? It was with the Buffalo Sabres, and it was a guy named Ralph Kruger.
Oh, I thought you were going in a different direction. I'm thinking, well, hey, we've had these guys. Doug Marrone was a relative unknown.
You talking about Rex?
Rex coming in,
I think with Rex coming in, that was more of like, hey, let's get some headlines and let's, get people excited about this team because we just had a guy quit on us and leave in the middle of the night. So let's get people fired up about this. But when Kruger was hired by the Sabres, I remember that being like, Kruger? It was kind of weird, like unorthodox kind of hire, but somebody that I'm sure through the interview process said all the right things and hit all the right notes and won Terry Pagula over. You hired a guy that was an absolute disaster. And so there is risk with going with that kind of outside voice or unorthodox pick. And there are plenty of guys that Phillip Rivers would have been an unorthodox pick, right? And that could have been and would have been probably a giant disaster if you went in the direction of something that extreme.
Just ask yourself this. What would have gotten you excited today as a Bills fan? Maybe it's, hey, we are hiring so-and-so as our defensive coordinator, Jim Schwartz or Jim Leonard or whoever it would be. We still don't know anything about that. Short of that, hey, you weren't excited at McDermott's press conference either.
Exactly right.
Neil, thank you for the call. I appreciate the George Carlin, reference. That's a bit of land the plane. Land the plane. There we go.
I just wanted them to land the plane because I have some exciting news here in the sports bar. Neil referenced Sean from Long Island, a couple of years ago, sent us a gift, a present via email. He listens to the show and created our little theme song that you hear every hour here on the Fan Rochester. And he must have been listening yesterday when we were talking about revitalizing our feature. Through the McDermott era, McDermott McLies became kind of a weekly tradition.
Yeah, organically. Because we would listen, we play back the Wednesday press conference sound like, okay, Andre Roberts is not a future Hall of Famer. Tua isn't this good. And we would just kind of chuckle, and we just kind of ended up calling the segment McLies, McDermott McLies. And then it didn't hit me with everything going on. I'm like, oh no, there's no more McLies. Now enter Joe Brady. And we had some fun. We put it out to you in the audience. Okay, what do we call this? And we got some good suggestions. Brady's Bull, Brady's Bunk, Brady's Balderdash. But there was one that was different, a little outside of the box. If you took a classic rock song lyric and you morphed it into ours.
Hey, look, I'm not going to be the smartest guy in the room ever. And, one of my buddies who we used to play men's league hockey together years ago. He's over at the Red Wings. It's our guy, Bob Craig. He sent me a message, and he said, hey, he heard our plight. And he said, what about if you took the music to Little Lies by Fleetwood Mac and you made it into a song, Tell Me Lies, Tell Me Sweet Brady Lies. And, the light bulb goes off in my head. I'm like, yeah, he might have something there. We talked about this yesterday on the air.
Mm-hmm.
Sean from Long Island was listening, Gino.
I've heard this.
Tell me lies, tell me sweet Brady lies. Tell me lies, tell me Brady lies.
Shouldn't there be a day honeymoon period, Danger? We're going to do sweet Brady lies hours after his press conference?
What's important to me is not just being in such a rush to putting together a staff of the right people and surrounding him with different personalities, different ideas, different viewpoints. I don't want a lot of guys that just think like me. And it's important that every person that we put together on the staff, you then sit there and reevaluate what else do we need with that. And so I'm in the process of doing it with Bean, and I'm excited about the staff that we're going to put together for our players.
It's back.
It's back.
It's back.
It's back.
We are so back.
With the custom intros, Sean.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. May or may not be AI. I don't even know. But whatever it is, it hits.
That's AI. We're all in trouble, buddy.
Whatever
AI
it is,
danger. Welcome to the
whatever it is, it hits, and now we can move forward. We can continue and commence to call out the head coach when he gives you some half truths.
Can you play that again? That is outstanding.
Absolutely.
Tell me lies, tell me sweet Brady lies. Tell me lies, tell me Brady lies.
The culture starts with them. When you watch a guy that's playing with 17 sets the tone of the culture, right? The men in the locker room set the culture, regardless of who the head coach is. And it's my job to making sure that I'm allowing them to be their personality, allowing them to play to their personality, because that's what the culture is. Like I said, I understand the expectations that come with this job, but it's important that we understand that this is going to be a new year and we have to start over. We don't just get to pick up where we left off and think that, hey, we're in the position that, hey, next week we're going to be in the conference championship game. And there's going to be a lot of work. I believe Mr. Bugul always says we're going to work tirelessly with it. We're going to have the competitive stamina to start over, but I'm excited about the direction that we have and the people that we have, and I believe in that.
Wow, there's a lot of energy. Was he drinking Red Bull or something there? That's like, oh boy.
Yeah. I didn't hate what I heard. I didn't hate. Now, if you missed it, we will have it for you. We'll play it here in the 4 o'clock hour. It is a little lengthy, but we will get to all of it, and we will try and not over encumber you with a ton of commercials in the middle of all of it. But before we get to all of that, Maggie Gray.
Ooh, before we get to that, breaking Bills news.
Breaking Bills news. Do we have an announcement?
Ow! 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 It really hit me. I didn't know it was coming back that far.
All right, we're not going to rush this. Oh, you got to get guys on the staff here. This is Rappaport. I'm going to read this verbatim here. The Bills are hiring respected Steelers O-line coach Pat Mayer as their O-line coach, source says. An important hire. Mayer worked with new head coach Joe Brady when both were in Carolina.
There you go. There you go.
I mean, respected. I mean, that's the agency.
Another observation, and this is something that crossed my feed as I was kind of like doing my homework for this press conference. I think it was Elena Getzenberg that noted that Cedric Van Pran Granger was in the weight room, actually lifting while all of this is going on, doing extra work, making sure everybody saw that he was in there.
Oh, wait a second. You mean people in the office might do that occasionally? I'm making sure I'm here. I'm ready to be your new starting center.
Exactly right. Exactly right. So, Connor McGovern, good run. Yeah, you drafted Cedric Van Pran Granger for a reason. He's been on the shelf for what now? 3 years? 3 seasons?
They have depth on O-line. You need to spend the money, whatever it is you have left elsewhere. I mean, look, David Edwards, Connor McGovern, it would be surprising to me that even one of them would come back. You have Anderson. You have Van Pran Granger. You have Grable. You have other guys that can fill in. You have a draft coming up, too.
Yeah. All right, Maggie Gray joining us next. Do you know her from Maggie and Perloff? And we'll get her thoughts on everything that's gone on with the Buffalo Bills since we last spoke, which was just prior to the Jacksonville win. Maggie Gray next on The Fan.
You're listening to the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester.
The moment is here. Your chance to make this Valentine's Day unforgettable. The Spa at Del Monte holds the secret to the ultimate Valentine's gift. Ready for it? Nothing says I love you like a gift card to the Spa at Del Monte. They might not tell you exactly what they want, but trust us. A Spa at Del Monte gift card shows you've been paying attention. Purchase gift cards in store or online at delmontespa.com. Make this Valentine's Day one to remember.
The sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester. Start your day with Drake Seat Toll. Finish it in the sports bar on your drive home. We talk sports all day on The Fan, Rochester.
Paid actors represent actual clients.
After my car accident, I didn't know if I had a case, so I called my attorneys at the Barnes firm. My case was worth $1.2 million.
I'm Rich Barnes.
Joe Brady, formally introduced as the new head coach of the Buffalo Bills today. Brady, on what needs to change?
I'm in the process of sorting through without getting into all the details. Like there's a lot of things that, like I talked about, is I want to make sure that we continue to kind of own in on right now is the energy, the mentality, and our vision moving forward. I'm not necessarily focused on changing things as opposed to where do we need to go from here and just moving forward with that direction.
This just in, according to Ian Rappaport, the Bills hiring Pat Mayer. Formerly, he was the Steelers' offensive line coach. He'll have that responsibility now in Buffalo. Maggie Gray joining us next year. Talk some Bills football next in the Sports Bar. The Red Hot Sabres tonight, as they are taking on the Kings. Our coverage will begin at 7 o'clock. The Amerks will play Game 2 of their series tomorrow night against Hershey. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Top Shelf Sports Talk. You're hanging out in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Yeah, I had a little broken bone in there, so they went and took it out and cleaned it up. Obviously, not ideal situation, painful throughout the weeks, but again, game day, different story, just being able to put that to the side and just go out there and play football.
Oh, yeah, by the way, quarterback played on a broken foot down the stretch. No big deal. Joe Brady, your new head coach of the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen also speaking to the media. We welcome in Maggie Gray. You know her from Maggie and Perloff. Friend of the show, Bills Mafia. Maggie, last we spoke was before Jacksonville. I think we were all a little bit nervous about that matchup. The Bills get the win, only to fall on their face in Mile High, and then the pandemonium that ensued afterwards and everything that's gone on here in the last week. There's so much to unpack, but we have a new head coach in Joe Brady, and I'm wondering how that has all of you feeling.
Man, Danger, Gene, my head is spinning. I feel like the Bills haven't gone through this much change, and yet what is actually changing here? You know, there's like a lot of headlines, and yet I'm really curious about what changes are actually coming, because this is a rare thing, right, where you fire the head coach, but then you elevate one of their top assistants is now taking over. We don't have a lot of, clarity on what's going on with the defense yet, which is obviously going to be a huge, huge decision for Joe Brady, because I think the offense, we kind of get what that's going to be. I've been watching it for the last few years, and Brady's done a great job. As far as him being a CEO and all of that stuff, I think that's all just talk. If he wins some games, everyone's going to move on and they're going to throw their, confidence behind Joe Brady. But he's got some major decisions on the defensive side. And, and the Bills, I don't think they're used to these kind of negative headlines. I'm sure they were pretty stunned at the backlash that happened with the Terry Pagula, Brandon Beane, press conference. Now you find out that Josh has got the broken foot. I don't think they're used to being the story this much when it comes to the inner workings of the franchise.
Maggie, Danger and I both have friends out of the area that don't follow the Bills as closely. And after that press conference, it was what is going on with their owner and team? Like, oh no, you don't understand. This is why you don't normally hear from Terry Pagula. So not only your thoughts on that, but just the decision in the way it happened to move off of McDermott, which has led us here to today. Yeah,
I don't mind the move. Now, clearly, they were not actually looking to execute a real coaching search, right? That became pretty apparent to me. When you look at the names of who they interviewed and how quickly this decision seems to have been made, and the fact that they elevated Joe Brady and took a guy in the building, I just don't think the owner really had the stomach to probably do what needed to be done, which was to get rid of McDermott and Beane together. The real way you make changes, and obviously they didn't want to do this, Terry Pagula did not want to do this, is you clean house. That's far from what happened. Beane got a promotion. Joe Brady's now the head coach. So it was kind of weird. And yeah, you're right. People who don't follow this franchise like we do, they're like, what's up with the owner? I'm like, yeah. We all know he's got the charisma of a dish rag. This is why he stays behind the scenes. And to be fair to him, he only pops his head up every now and again. He's not trying to be Jerry Jones. He's not trying to be Mark Cuban. He's not trying to be a celebrity. I think what he did was right. He just doesn't have the media skills and the savvy to just say, listen, we went as far as we could with Sean McDermott. And, yeah, is it a little strange that I'm doing this after a game when, quite frankly, I thought he coached well and that the team got hosed at the end of the game with some calls? Like, whatever you make of the timing, the change had to be made, and he should have just had a little more conviction there as opposed to, well, I know that the calls were bad and that wasn't Sean's fault, but. It's like, just stand behind it. But he's not a media guy. I mean, you two know that. He's one of those behind-the-scenes dudes, and he should go back behind the scenes immediately.
I just think we never need to hear from a billionaire. I'm convinced that anytime a billionaire speaks, they're just going to be out of touch. They don't understand. They live in their own world. They're aliens. We call them aliens here, and Pegula certainly fits that mold. And the actions and the words from that press conference to where we are now with Joe Brady being the new head coach, boy, Maggie, it sure seems like they're pinning a lot of this team's failures on what Sean McDermott did.
Yeah. No, they definitely are. And listen, I mean, this is why I think you needed to clean house, because I think it's a really hard, and I don't know if you guys have a strong lean either way here. I think you could argue for hours and hours. What was the problem with the defense? Was it the personnel? Was the coaching? What's the problem with the passing attack? Was it the personnel? Was it the coaching? Like, I think there was a lot of blame to go around here. And, yeah, I think McDermott deserved some of it because he could not get to the Super Bowl, and that was ultimately the goal. And this was the year. This was the golden opportunity. No Mahomes, no Lamar Jackson, no Joe Burrow, the guys who have given you trouble, in the past outside of Lamar, who, they could beat usually. But this was the year. And you had to go on the road because you lost some games, and not to add insult to injury, the Patriots are there. So, listen, I get it. I understand why McDermott had to go. But, again, I ask you, was this roster this was the year, but was the roster good enough? And I think you would have been justified to get rid of both guys. And now, after that press conference, I don't know if it actually went down this way, but Bean kind of came out looking like a backstabber, kind of like he was pulling off some power play. Because he ends up getting promoted, he's sitting there next to the owner. McDermott's, writing sad social media posts, and so I think Bean is kind of the fan base is down on him because it looked a little backstabby. I don't know if it actually went down that way, but that's how it looked.
And that's funny because that part of the press conference was something I isolated too. For Pegula to have such a strong opinion on guys who. We don't do power plays here. If I know you're doing a power play, you're out. And when you look at what has occurred over the course of the last week, this is all one giant power play. It was this guy needs to go and we need to get promoted. And the two guys that were probably involved in the power play, for all the words and all the bluster of Terry Pegula, they are there and they got promoted.
Yeah, it's funny. Like there's a term for this, like in psychology. Maybe it's disassociation. I don't know, but it's like whatever you say is actually what you're doing, but you say you're not. Guys, I'm not a professional, but it did look a little bit like Terry. Wake up, man! Like, you look around. What happened? How are people taking? Like, put yourself in our shoes. And to your point, this is why billionaires, not to paint them all with a broad brush, but like they can they put themselves in an average person's shoes right now? Can they put themselves in someone Zubaz pants? Like, they can't. But, like, you have to understand how this is going to come off to the rest of the fan base. And I think Bean understands it. But, he doesn't, he's pretty accessible to the media when things are going well. But, everyone's got to kind of put their heads down now because this roster is going to need to change a little bit. And that's very obvious.
Maggie Gray joining us here. Maggie, you referenced it. Moves like this, coach fired, promote somebody within. In the NFL, we're trying to find the comp where it worked. We came up with Frank Reich just because he stayed there 6 years. You see this with Schottenheimer in Dallas. I mean, in sports, Doug Collins gets fired. But, what should be our expectation for Brady? I mean, we want to say Super Bowl, but there has to be a learning curve here, doesn't there?
I mean, can the guy coach? I have no idea. I mean, he can run an offense. He can definitely run an offense. Is he a head coach? Like, we're all going to find out together. And it's a tough spot for him. Even Brian Schottenheimer, and that's a good one, obviously, right, because he was working under McCarthy. But nobody thought that Cowboys were winning the Super Bowl. I don't even think Jerry Jones thought that. He says it, but I don't think he really thinks it. This is a Super Bowl or bust team. So Joe Brady, going through like the trials and tribulations that every first-time head coach generally goes through, he's going to be under way bigger of a microscope. And, a couple of guys like that, Jesse Minter in Baltimore, probably same thing. But, for our purposes and for the Buffalo purposes, he is going to have no grace period whatsoever. Maybe he deserves a bigger one, but he's not going to have one, especially and guys, I don't know where you fell on this, but when Mike Tomlin's out there, and I get it, McDermott beat Mike Tomlin, and the Bills handled the Steelers, and that was never a big deal. But Mike Tomlin really didn't have a great quarterback anywhere close to Josh's caliber when he was facing the Bills. I thought you had to make a deal. You had to make the call to Tomlin. I don't know if the reporting's been out on this. I haven't seen it. You have to make him say no. I know he hasn't been able to win a playoff game in closing in on a decade. But again, when you have Kenny Pickett and Mason Rudolph and Aaron Rodgers, old Aaron Rodgers, it's just, I thought they should have called Tomlin. Make him say no, and I have no idea if they did.
So along those lines, Maggie, one of the big decisions Brady's going to have to make here when he's rounding out his staff, not just offensive coordinator, which will be less impactful because he's still calling plays, who is going to take over this defense for Sean McDermott? We know that Babbage is going to Green Bay, and Gino and I are having a conversation about this, wondering, is it going to be a first-time guy that might get the fan base excited like a Jim Leonard, coming in from Denver, or is it going to be a more established guy, maybe a guy who has head coaching experience? We know Jim Schwartz is going to be sought after now that he's not in Cleveland. And then there's another name, and this is the name I stutter and I shudder every time I say it because I don't want it to happen, but I just know because of the connection that it's going to be Steve Wilkes, and I'm not okay with that.
Oh, I thought you were going to go somewhere totally different than that. I thought you were going to say, offer it to Belichick. He's not going to take it. Obviously, he's the head coach of the North Carolina Tar Heels. But, if he really wants to get back in the NFL, just got snubbed by the Hall of Fame, would he come back to be a defensive coordinator? Now, maybe I because I live downstate now and I'm here in New York, they always thought, bring Belichick back as the defensive coordinator for the Giants. I don't think he would do it, obviously. Steve Wilkes, oh boy. I mean, good grief. San Francisco, that did not work out well when he was there, and that was a Super Bowl or bust team. I know they made it to the Super Bowl with him, but I don't think they liked him very much because they got him out of there the moment the confetti was falling, and they were like, goodbye. I don't know. I mean, the reporting is Jim Leonard, but to your guys' point, don't you want somebody on the staff to have had head coaching experience? You know what I mean? Jim Schwartz, I think, would be fantastic. And, I know he rubs people the wrong way, but if he's your defensive coordinator, this is my fear. My fear is that Brandon Beane really does. This is a fear, by the way. This is not reporting. I didn't dive into this. But, does he want anybody in the building who could possibly have a star that shines as brighter than him?
Or pushback, right? You don't want pushback if you're Brandon Beane.
Or whatever, right. It's his show now. And really, it's Josh's team, but it's Brandon Beane's show. You know what I'm saying? Josh is obviously the face. And Sean McDermott was was never reached the star power that Josh has, obviously. This is not an Andy Reid Mahomes thing where it's kind of 1 and 1A. But Josh is the face of the team. Beane's running the show, and I don't even know if he wants somebody in there who a Jim Schwartz or somebody who might cause a little bit of friction. Jim Leonard, this is what I can tell you about Jim Leonard, whether this makes people feel good or not good, but I did a show with Bart Scott, the Jets linebacker, Ravens linebacker for a long time, and he loved Jim Leonard as a teammate, and Bart doesn't suffer fools, and he loved Jim Leonard. He thought that he was always one of the smartest, hardworking. Now, does that mean he's going to have a great defense? I don't know, but from someone who played alongside him, Bart Scott always had the nicest things to say about Jim Leonard.
Yeah, a couple points on Wilkes. He was a head coach.
Yeah.
Arizona. And 2,
Yeah,
he was the
for a year.
defensive coordinator of a team that did not have a single interception.
The
last
Jets,
year.
yeah.
That's outstanding. Maggie,
Although I think that's going on a while. The Jets, to judge somebody when they're with the Jets is like judging someone they're pledging a fraternity. It's like that's not who they are, just the circumstances.
now, and Maggie, I'm not going to say whose side is I'm taking and Danger's taking on McDermott, but settle this here, okay? Because there's two trains of thought. Hey, Sean McDermott is going to be a head coach in the NFL next season because look at how he took a moribund franchise and built it up. Or you could say, hey, look at what Joe Brady's doing here in Buffalo. Does that put some tarnish on Sean McDermott? Does McDermott get a head coaching job next season?
We have a box of wine on this bet, Maggie, so choose wisely.
Oh, only your finest Franzia.
Yeah.
Which I'm not hating, by the way. I'll drink that by the gallon. Oh God, no, I don't think he's going to. I think he'll coach again in the NFL, but I don't think he's gonna. Like, who's left that's open that would really be enticed by him? It's probably the Raiders.
Well, no, we're saying in 2027, not 2026.
Oh, I'm sorry. So not this upcoming cycle.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, he will coach again in the NFL. The one thing I can't get past, though, is Sean McDermott, he got the pendulums swung in very, huge ways about him. Like, he saved a moribund franchise. You're absolutely right. The franchise, there was no hope with this franchise for almost 17 years outside of a couple blips here and there, but no hope. And he deserves a lot of credit for that, along obviously with Josh. But then he also was never in the coach of the year conversation. I don't think that people really thought of him as this amazing X's and O's because he couldn't beat Andy Reid. And when you lose 4 times in the playoffs to the same coach, I think people start to wonder how good are you really?
Yeah, I mean, whenever the takesmen would have their list of the best coaches in the NFL, McDermott was traditionally mid-pack at best, never really considered top 10, but a guy that, could certainly at minimum build a culture and show that here in Buffalo. I think in 2027 he is coaching, and it could be as close as the Jets. It could be a team like Tampa Bay, which we know he has connections with, and who knows? I mean, if it is the Jets, I wonder if he would relish the opportunity to go up against his former team twice a year. I think he might.
Oh, definitely, especially how this ended. I mean, it seemed like almost unnecessarily messy because I think he was genuinely blindsided by this, which I don't know if that was him just not reading the room. The one thing with the Jets will always hire a defensive head coach. I don't know why. Their offense has been terrible for decades, yet they insist on hiring mostly defensive coaches outside the Adam Gases of the world. But then for Tampa, you're right, definitely connections. But would they go defensive? If they fired Todd Bowles, then would they hire McDermott? Maybe. I don't know. I mean, it's possible. But I think he will coach again. I do. Just it's got to be a really unique circumstance. It's got to be one like he had in Buffalo where he's got a quarterback who is a no-doubter and then just really do the defense, and that's it.
Yeah, well, if you still talk to EJ, just say, hey, good luck with the Jets next season. You would do actually good with the Jets. I think that's exactly what the Jets need here. Maggie Gray, our guest here in the Sports Bar. Maggie, about you mentioned Belichick.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Belichick not going into the Hall of Fame here on the first try?
Freaking love it. I almost cursed. I love it. Guys, he cheated, okay?
Yeah.
Listen, is he one of the greatest? Is he going to get in? He's definitely going to get in. Let's all just chill out. But he definitely cheated. They got docked a first-round draft pick for it. Fine, the whole deal. And then, let's not forget this, they kept doing that stupid Spygate thing. They didn't call it Spygate, but he got dinged again because they got in trouble, I think it was in Cincinnati, where they were recording for Kraft Productions, in a game where the Patriots weren't even playing. Guys, they kept doing Spygate, and they kept getting, reprimanded for it. Didn't get the headlines. And he should absolutely have to sit out a year for that. I wonder if they'll do the same to Brady, though. Like, they definitely don't have the stones to do that because, I think people believe Deflategate was, it was an overreach. It was a backlash because, the Patriots never got properly really punished for Spygate and they took it out on Brady. There's more to unpack on that. Like, they'll let Brady in on the first ballot, but Brady did get suspended for 4 games. I don't know. I mean, like, one of the tenets of the hall is, like, integrity, and they want to talk about all that stuff. Like, yeah, sit out a year. I'm totally cool with it. The one thing I won't be cool with it, though, if this was just Robert Kraft, like, pulling some behind-the-scenes billionaire power play because he didn't want to go into the hall the same year as Belichick. Because clearly these two are like real housewives of Foxborough, like they can't get along.
Yeah.
And so if this was just Robert Kraft like being a billionaire, then I won't feel as good about it. But if this was really because of Spygate and voters dinged him for that, more power to him.
Maggie, it's always great having you on here in the sports bar, and we await with bated breath the next move. And we know you can't share anything now, but you can say that there is something in the works still, that something is coming, that you've generated a lot of fans here in Rochester with your work that you've done.
Wait, can I tell you guys, I was thinking about you the other day because, we had this like epic snowstorm, and like it's just snowing. And my husband, who Rochester, born and bred, Wilson High School, I married a guy from Rochester, best thing I ever did. My husband, I was like, you are Rochester right now. He was out every hour and a half, the snowblower, like the battery would die. He was going out again. He probably went out like 4 times. I'm like, have you shoveled this much since Rochester? He was like, no, I haven't. And I was like, this is where my husband's survival instincts came out. And it was all because of Rochester. So I was thinking about you guys.
Oh, you can let them know. We get another 6-12 in Lake Effect coming up here, Maggie.
Yeah, we won't get above freezing until well past mid-February. I mean, that welcome to Rochester, everybody. Even the wood has rust. It's great.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's not going to get above freezing. I thought you were going to say Memorial Day, which is, not that far from the truth.
Maggie, when you have news, we will share it with our audience. Always appreciate you coming on and giving us your Bills takes here.
Yeah, guys. I mean, onward and upward. New era here for the Bills, sort of. Yeah. We'll see how it goes.
Thanks, Maggie. Take care. Maggie Gray. We'll find out what Maggie's next move is soon enough, but we'll be supporting it. Maggie's the best. Maggie and Perloff, and spending some time with us here talking about the Bills.
Yeah, and funny take on Belichick. Why do we say, oh, shame on you, writer?
I did see one of the writers, I think the writer in Kansas City, wrote an article on why he left Belichick off his ballot. And the way he rationalized it really makes it less about the voters and more about the process that the voters had to follow. And when you have guys that are on that ballot that might not get the chance to ever get in, and this is their last chance, coupled with the guys that should automatically go in, now you've limited my choices. I can only pick 3 of these guys, and I know that 3 of these guys that are never going to get the chance to go in, I'm going to vote for Kenny Anderson because I think Kenny Anderson deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. I'm going to vote for this player because Belichick is getting in. He's not getting on the first ballot. That's a shame, but these are the rules that we now, the voters, have to follow. I thought he did a good job of explaining why, and also courage to explain why.
He's the only one, I think, so far that's come out. And Polian is doubled down, saying, no, I voted for it. Now he's saying he voted for it. He's saying he called up the Hall, and the Hall said, no, you voted for him, when he said he couldn't remember for him. Like,
unbelievable.
Oh, wow.
A guy that can't remember who he voted for is still allowed to vote. Okay. All right, we got the press conference. If you missed it from earlier, Joe Brady's introductory press conference coming up next is going to eat up a good chunk of the next 60 minutes. Bear with us, and I think it's worth your listen. If you're a Bills fan, we'll see how you feel about this. If it gets you fired up for the future, there's a lot to unpack. But we'll give you the entirety of the Joe Brady introductory press conference next on The Fan Rochester.
You're listening to the 9BF Rochester, the sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester. An Odyssey sports station. The Fan, Rochester. Sports update.
We will have Joe Brady's introductory press conference, a replay of that coming up next year in the Sports Bar. Some of the players in attendance today, including Josh Allen. Yes, Allen did break his foot.
Yeah, I had a little broken bone in there. So they went and took it out and cleaned it up. Obviously, not ideal situation, painful throughout the weeks, but again, game day, different story, just being able to put that to the side and just go out there and play football.
That broken bone, the fifth metatarsal. Allen should be fine for spring practice. One note, according to Ian Rappaport, the Bills hiring Steelers offensive line coach Pat Mayer. Sabres hockey tonight on The Fan. This team is red hot. The LA Kings, the opponent. Our coverage here on The Fan will begin at 7 o'clock. The Hammocks looking to bounce back after last night's loss to Hershey. Same two teams tomorrow night at the Blue Cross Arena. Team Battaglia, the sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
It's time to start the show and talk about the sports we saw. Inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia. Bills and the Sabres and the Amherst. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
A very good afternoon to you. Welcome back into the Sports Bar. It's Danger and Battaglia. Thanks for joining us at 95.7 FM, AM 950. Our stream is up and rolling on the YouTube channel and on Twitch at The Fan Rochester. You can even get us on your smart device when you ask it to play 95.7 The Fan. Gino, today is a transformational day for the Buffalo Bills as they usher in their new head coach, Joe Brady.
I think he hits on all the right notes as we're going to play here, coming up. As Joe Brady, 17th head coach in franchise history. The process to get to this, unlike any other, where you fire a successful coach, but nonetheless, they arrive at Brady. Brandon Beane is also going to talk here throughout, and I think some of his comments are certainly interesting as well.
All right, so if you missed it from earlier today, this is the introductory press conference of new Buffalo Bills head coach Joe Brady.
Appreciate you guys all being here. It's a good little crowd, different little setting. I want to thank our entire Bills staff that's here. We just had a great meeting to kind of welcome Joe in there, but appreciate all of y'all's support. I want to thank our media for being here today as well. I want to thank our owner, Terry Pagula, and his family, Pete Gwelly, Terrence Gray, Brian Gain, and Josh Allen for the extensive work, time, and energy that we all put in last week when we started this search to where we ended up with Joe. I'd also personally like to thank the other 8 candidates. This process was long, but it was informative. Learned a lot about how other people do things, how other teams do business, and took a lot of notes along the way. There was a lot of brilliant football minds that we were able to spend a good amount of time with, including a 44-year-old quarterback that just came back and finished. That was a good one. But when we started this process, we were looking for a CEO type of head coach. And so you may say, okay, what do you mean by a CEO? And what I'm talking about is a fresh, new vision for the Buffalo Bills. Somebody who values strong culture, collaboration, and alignment. We wanted a highly intelligent, aggressive, and excellent communicator. We wanted alignment. Joe Brady is all of that and more. We all know Joe. Joe is a brilliant offensive mind. He's led, the 2 years that he had the full helm as our offensive coordinator, top 5 offenses. He led the offense that produced an MVP quarterback a year ago. This past season, the NFL rushing champ. Joe's offenses know how to attack in many different ways. And we all know that about Joe. But what I and our team learned through this process was Joe's vision for how he would run an entire football team. And specifically, his thoughts on how our defense would play under Joe if he was given this job. He wants a defense that attacks opposing quarterbacks and play callers pre-snap and post-snap, a defense that dictates to the offense. And what I also learned about Joe through this process was his love for Buffalo, his love for our community and the entire Bills Mafia. Joe is the perfect fit for our team right now. I am fired up to announce the next head coach of the Buffalo Bills, Joe Brady.
What's up, my guys? I'm trying not to get emotional already. I didn't do well in the staff room. Thank you. I want to first start with gratitude. I hope I'm loud enough. Someone will tell me in the back if I'm not. I want to first start by thanking Mr. Bagula and the Bagula family. Your commitment to this franchise, to this community, and winning is evident in everything you do. When this opportunity came along, I didn't want to just be a head football coach. I wanted to be the head football coach of the Buffalo Bills, doing it with the right people, under the right direction, with the right alignment. Thank you for the trust you've placed in me and the responsibility to lead with you. I don't know where she is, but I want to thank my wife, Lauren. She's right in front. I thought she was going to be with the little baby. She's right in front. I said hi to the guys, didn't even say hi to her. God, off to a good start. I definitely can't look at you now. This job demands sacrifice, right? I'm calling you on the way to a game while you're going into labor, right? And I find out after a game that you go through, you give birth by yourself. This game takes away time and energy and presence from you. And you've carried the weight that comes with this job so that I can pursue my calling. Your strength, your belief, and your steadiness is the foundation that allows me to do what I do. And you believed in me long before this moment ever arrived. I am nothing without you, and I will not get anywhere ever in life without you. I didn't cry, so that's not going to go well. To my parents, Joe and Jody, and my sister JC, that are hopefully being babysitters somewhere in the back. Thank you for the foundation you guys gave me long before football. All right? You taught me how to work, how to compete, how to take accountability, how to protect, how to treat others, how to stay grounded. Everything I stand for as a coach started at home. I love you guys. I want to thank Brandon Bean. So much respect for this interview process, and how you handled it, not starting from the beginning, starting it and treating it. I've been fortunate to be in some of these interviews before, and that was the most intense interview I've ever been in, and I mean that with everything. But the way that you guys treated it and allowed me to be me, not worrying about what's happened to here in the past and what we're focused on, direction of the future. I'm incredibly excited about our alignment, the communication that we have together, and our collaboration, and I'm in this with you. Thank you. I want to thank my agent, Trace Armstrong, helping me navigate this process, being my sounding board and sweating it out until I got the news. Lastly, I've been fortunate to be around a lot of incredible coaches in my career. I'm not up there without them. I played for Coach Jimmy Laycock. I coached linebackers for Jimmy Laycock. I was GA for James Franklin. Got an opportunity to be a coaching assistant with Sean Payton. Opportunity to call plays with Ed Orgeron, Matt Rule, and coach quarterbacks and call plays for Sean McDermott. I want to thank and recognize Sean McDermott. In 2022, 4 years ago, Coach McDermott gave me an opportunity of a lifetime. I had an opportunity to come here, coach for the Buffalo Bills, and coach Josh Allen. I took immense pride in that. Over the past 4 years, I've learned a tremendous amount of things from Coach McDermott. How to lead, resilience, standards. The past 9 years in this organization matter. I'm understanding of that. I'm appreciative of the opportunity to be a part of it. They matter deeply and they deserve respect. I'm so grateful for Coach McDermott. I love Coach McDermott. And I'm going to do everything I can to continue to build upon the things that he laid and the foundation he laid. All right. At the same time, we got to move forward. Right? And I think it starts with a new energy, a new mentality, and a new vision. A new energy that I got to drive every single day. One thing that the guys know about me, and it might be from espresso, it might be from Gatorade Fast Twitches, but I'm going to bring the energy every single day. And I believe people are going to feed off of that. I truly believe in being the temperature, right? I'm the weather, and they're going to feel it every single day. A mentality. I believe in everything about these guys right here, right? And a mentality as we go forward, that it is a nameless, faceless opponent that we're going against. And they got to play us and not the other way around. And I mean that with everything. They got to play the Buffalo Bills. They got to play Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills, not the other way around. And it does not matter the day of the week, the time of the day. Is it outside? Is it inside? What's the weather? Just put the damn ball down. Let's go play. All right, and that's going to be the mentality that we play with. That's Buffalo. And then a vision. I believe in communication, connection, accountability, and love. I said this to the staff. Quiet teams don't win. Quiet teams do not win. All right, and I'm going to everything in my power to have that communication line open in everything that I do. I believe in that. And then love. Connected teams win. Connected teams win. If you love the man next to you and you care more about his success than your own, that's when you're going to win football games. I understand that I'm walking into this role in a much better position than Coach McDermott did. I am not naive to that. I also understand that the expectations are higher as well. I didn't take this job to shy away from expectations. I sure as hell did not do that. I'm embracing it, I'm understanding it, and I'm meeting it full on. I know what I signed up for, and we're going to embrace it because no one rises to low expectations. I want what this city wants. I want what Mr. Pegula deserves. Buffalo. Same thing as Buffalo. Buffalo isn't just where I work. And this is a kid from South Florida. Buffalo is not just where I work. It's where my life changed. There's nowhere else I'd rather be than right here, right now. And I mean that in my whole heart and my family. My wife and I got married while we've been living here. We didn't even take a honeymoon right away so that we can spend our first summer here in Buffalo and experience in Buffalo. Both of my kids were born in Buffalo. And they're going to be raised their entire life to have so much pride in being able to say that they're from Buffalo. This city and this organization puts so much life into me professionally, and I don't take that lightly. I want to make the city proud every day, and I understand the pride, and I want to do everything I can to earn wearing this logo. The pride and passion of the Buffalo Bills is second to none. Bills Mafia. I feel it, I felt it. There's no other place that when you travel, there's unwritten rules that you have to wear Bills logos. And you go on an airplane and you'd swear that we're playing a home game the next day because it's completely full of Bills fans. And the power that no matter where you are in the country, you can be in Italy, you can be in California, you can be across the world, that power that as you walk by someone and they're wearing a Bills logo and the powerful words, I'm not saying much, but just saying go Bills. I believe in the Bills Mafia. I have so much power and respect for it. I have so much respect for it. And I want to do everything I can to continue earning their respect and putting something on the field that they are proud of. Lastly, our players, my guys. Ooh. I'm so appreciative of you guys being here today. And thank you for allowing me to be myself, playing for me and being you with us. I may be calling plays still, but I'm no longer the offensive coordinator, Max, right? The defensive and special teams guys one day, I can't wait to grow our relationship, right? And deepen it and understand who you are and continue to grow that. And I can't wait to go out to practice, right? And when you get a takeaway, be able to celebrate with you just like I was talking a lot to you. I get to get after Spencer Brown the same way, and I'm in it with you guys now. All right? I can't wait to do that. I have so much confidence in the guys here. I have so much confidence in the rosters and so much confidence in the men right here. Everything we will do will be centered around you having success and making sure that we're putting you in the best positions to have success. I tell my players all the time, I'm so grateful to get to do what I do, but I'm more grateful to get to who I get to do it with. Everything I am is because of you guys. And I'm going to work all I have to think about is making sure that you guys are successful. It is not about me. It is always about you guys. And lastly, I talked about love. Josh always says it. If you love someone, let them know. I love you guys. I'm going to leave that with Go Bills. Thank you.
Boys, Joe, congratulations, first of all.
Thank you.
Tell us first about, we see you've lost some coaches on this staff already. How far along are you in the process of replacing these coaches, specifically offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator?
Yeah, look, what's important to me is not just being in such a rush to putting together a staff of the right people and surrounding them with different personalities, different ideas, different viewpoints. I don't want a lot of guys that just think like me. And it's important that every person that we put together on the staff, you then sit there and reevaluate what else do we need with that. And so I'm in the process of doing it with Bean, and I'm excited about the staff that we're going to put together for our players.
Right here, Joe. John Worrell. Congrats.
Thank you.
You mentioned it during your speech, but you understand the challenges and the pressures that come with this job and what you're stepping into. What are the challenges that you face of carrying over the sustained success and the culture that Sean brought in, and how do you go about carrying that over as you being the head coach? Yeah,
well, the culture starts with them. When you watch a guy that's playing with 17 sets the tone of the culture, right? The men in the locker room set the culture, regardless of who the head coach is. And it's my job to making sure that I'm allowing them to be their personality, allowing them to play to their personality, because that's what the culture is. Like I said, I understand the expectations that come with this job, but it's important that we understand that this is going to be a new year and we have to start over. We don't just get to pick up where we left off and think that, hey, we're in the position that, hey, next week we're going to be in the conference championship game. And there's going to be a lot of work. And I believe Mr. Pagula always says we're going to work tirelessly with it. We're going to have the competitive stamina to start over. But I'm excited about the direction that we have and the people that we have, and I believe in that.
I guess. Brandon, when did you know that Joe is your guy?
Yeah, it's funny. We interviewed Joe first, and these were long interviews. You know, some teams that started earlier in the process kind of Zoom some people for an hour, maybe hour 15 is a lot of those, and then you hear about the second interview. We knew that we needed to kind of pare this field down best you could. I mean, nine people is still a lot. But at the same time, you want to be thorough with the process. And so we kind of went through, after each person went, we debriefed as a group and took notes and made sure to hear each other, like what, because sometimes I may miss something. Oh, that's what he was saying there. And so I would say when we got done with the last candidate, which ended up at about 10 o'clock one night, we stayed in there for another 2 hours, talked a little bit, and Joe was standing out. There were, 2 or 3 that were standing out. And we said, you know what, let's go to bed. We're tired. We came back the next day and we talked some more. And we said, you know what, we did Joe. So Joe was starting to rise here as the guy. But we also know we know Joe. And honestly, I almost think Joe had a tough hill to climb. As I was telling the staff earlier, when we started this process, I made sure, and you can ask anyone that was in the interview, Terry, Pete, Josh, anybody, Laura, that the best process is not to look at Joe Brady as someone in our building, because we know the good, the bad. It's like living with someone, right? These other people, we don't know every single thing about them. And so we need to pretend, I think I said like that Joe's been coaching for the Green Bay Packers or something. And so I made Joe go through, we never met him. before. And there were some other candidates that we knew. I know we know you. Start from scratch, because I may know something that Terry doesn't know, or that Pete or Brian Gain. So it's a long answer for you, Matt, but I did not want to rush this process, and I wanted to be fair to every candidate. And so we got Joe back on a Zoom call, and I called him, hey, bud, we need more here. And so we wrote down the questions that we still had for Joe. And about halfway through that process, I was like, that's our guy. But I still had to let Terry finish some questions too. Because I want to make sure he was on board and the approval. And Terry, didn't even reach back over to me. He's like, I think you're the next head coach. I was like, Terry, I got to talk to his agent. Like, we got to get. But it was a great process. It was a thorough process. And as I said in my opening statements, I took so many notes. I've already shared some with Joe, but it's great to peel back the onion of how different teams and how some of these, there were some smart people. And I mean, you're always trying to learn. I learned way more than, I knew I would learn stuff, but I learned way more than I ever thought I would, that I was missing. And so we'll take those as advantages, and we'll talk about what we heard, what we like, and try and create this new vision for the the next iteration of the Buffalo Bills.
Joe, what needs to change, and how will you do it?
Yeah, I'm in the process of sorting through without getting into all the details. Like there's a lot of things that, like I talked about, is I want to make sure that we continue to kind of own in on right now is the energy, the mentality, and our vision moving forward. I'm not necessarily focused on changing things as opposed to where do we need to go from here and just moving forward with that direction.
That would have been a pretty short interview, though, if you didn't have ideas about what you want to implement. Can you share what you told during the interview process, what you want to do with this team?
Yeah, I think, look, through the interview process, like I said, it was an extremely intense interview. And look, Josh Allen was stoic in it. Like I made sure I didn't talk to him for a week, which was, I'm at edge, but he was making sure that he was removed from it. And everybody in that room, I was appreciative of the professionalism, right? The premise of the interview was making sure that I was able to kind of talk about, not use it as a, hey, these are things that I would change. It's more of, this is what I would do as a head coach, and this is the vision that I'm looking to do here. I think a lot of times we think that, hey, when you take over a place, you just have to change a lot. Sometimes it's just fine-tuning some things. But without getting into the details of the privacy of some of our conversations, I really want to make sure that our mentality, all right, and the vision that we're going to with the connection and the love and the communication is at the forefront.
Joe Brady, Mookie Hawkins, congratulations, man.
Thank you, brother.
Got to get used to you being in a suit now.
You might. Hopefully, you don't have to see it in a while.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But how did you plan to support Josh Allen's growth as a leader and a playmaker? And what changes can you expect when what's most important to you when building a coaching staff?
Yeah, like every decision this organization makes, it's with the thought of Josh Allen and the players in mind. Right? I'd be crazy not to. I was a part of incredible organizations in New Orleans surrounding around Drew Brees, and there wasn't a decision that was made without Drew Brees being thought about, talked about, and making sure you understood it. Doesn't mean it was always the decision, but it was important that he was involved in it because he is the leader of this organization, and the weight that he has on his shoulders is something that I can't even imagine. Everything I think about is trying to find ways to put him in a position to have success, because that's all I care about with him. Josh Allen is the best player in the NFL, and I have to grow, right? And part of me growing is that's going to allow him to be a better version of himself. And I'm so excited to be able to continue this journey with him. I have so much love for that man right there, and all I want is him to get everything that he deserves, and that's all I do for.
Hey, Joe.
How we doing?
John Anderson, congratulations. Kind of what Tim had kind of asked you, I'll ask again. At what moment for you during the interview process do you feel that management said, this is our guy, that they were going to tell the players, this is our guy, that the fans are going to say, this is our guy? At what moment did it hit you that this is my job and I can do this?
Well, I knew it was going to be, I had the mindset it was going to be my job, but that was just because how I went into it. Even when Terry offered me the job, I still thought he was asking me a question that, hey, so is this how I want to answer it? And so, full transparency, I couldn't sleep for the last week. This is the job I wanted. And when you interview first, you don't know, you come away and you're like, hey, I hope I can get another interview. I hope I get another opportunity. There's no, like I said, this is where I wanted to be. But there was never a moment where I walked away was like, hey, this is my job. I thought, they obviously did an incredible job making sure that they're doing it the right way. And that's what I wanted. That's what I wanted. I had an opportunity to talk to Josh the other day, and I'm sorry, but like, he let me know, he's like, I didn't help you get this job. You got this job. And that meant so much to me. And, so there was never a moment, like I said, even after Mr. Pagula, I was still making sure I heard it correctly. But I was sweating it out the entire time.
Brandon, last week it was seeming clear that the roster was felt to be strong enough, but maybe coaching is the reason that this team hasn't reached the Super Bowl. Why then was a choice who's been part of this coaching staff the right one to be the next head coach?
Yeah, I mean, I would say it wasn't like there was a finger pointed at coaching, so I would disagree with that, John. This is a collective thing. We do this together. We all collaborate. And hopefully I was clear that, Sean McDermott being dismissed or a change with coaching, I feel guilt for that as well. There's things that I could do and that, Joe and I will work together to make sure that we get corrected to get this thing over the top. So as I was saying earlier, if you viewed, like, I'm going to step back to myself. So I was in Carolina, started as an intern, grew my way up, interim GM, but some people still have a problem. They view you as what you were versus what you can be. And so if you're in Joe's seat as the offensive coordinator, I'm only having conversations with Joe about the offense or his players or things like that. It's not a holistic view of how we talk about sports science or how we practice. That's not his area. That was Coach McDermott's area. That will now be his area. So when we went into this process, that's why I thought it was very important to hear everything about. We didn't need to spend long talking about his offense. We know what that is. It was really talking about everything else. And we went down to what we're going to do on a Monday after we win a game. What's the coaches going to do? What are the players going to do? What are we going to do on a Tuesday? I mean, we spent probably 25 minutes, 30 minutes with each candidate just going through every single detail of what this operation is going to be from right now through phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, training camp, how we're opening camp. We're going to be away. I told every candidate we go away. That's what we do. So I want to hear how that works for you, all the way down to the daily practice. When are we eating lunch? Like, when are these guys eating? I think that was one of Josh's questions. But, and I'll say this, like, to the point on, I know people were opining on whether the quarterback should be in there or not. That's one of those ones that he wasn't in there. People will be like, why are you not, the guy's MVP, he's been here. To me, it was his role in there was, if there's anything we left out schematically, something he's got a question, like, we're not as deep into X's and O's as those guys are. And also, I told Josh at the beginning, like, if there's someone you don't feel you mesh with, or that our players, he's kind of a voice for the locker room, that would be silly for us to select that. But when we had this last, like, Josh went and had his foot fixed, he was not able to, finish, but we didn't even have him in the process where we were discussing pros and cons of each candidate. He was just there to kind of hear and speak up when spoken to. But again, I think ultimately we never viewed Joe Brady as the offensive coordinator. Just like when Brian Daboll was here, we obviously know Dave's. We didn't view him as that. We viewed him as coming from somewhere else.
Hey, Joe. Andy Young from Spectrum News. Congratulations.
Thank you.
What is your approach to defensive football, and what type of qualities and style are you looking for in a defensive coordinator?
Yeah, look, the privilege that I've had of calling plays, you understand what keeps you up at night. When you're calling plays, I feel like defensive football for so many years was just putting stress on quarterbacks. You get to the line of scrimmage and they're putting stress on quarterbacks pre-snap, post-snap, and nowadays the type of, the best defenses and the best minds are continuous all the way through the play call, putting stress on coordinators. And it's not, you no longer are you able to just know where guys are going to be, when they're going to be there. And I think that that's, a key element of what I'm looking for on a defense is making sure that we have the versatility to be able to change personnels, get a lot of different people in different spots, similar to what we do offensively. I don't believe offensive football and defensive football should have different mindsets, but we can understand as we approach a game plan that there's a way to win every game, and as long as we have versatility and different type of pieces, that we can find that way to win, to put stress on both the offense and the defense.
Hey, Joe, Mike Catalano, congratulations. With all the success you've had with the offense, Terry talked about the team hitting a wall in the playoffs, and you and the offense have been part of that with opportunities in the playoff games at the end, maybe to tie or to take the lead. What responsibility do you feel for that, and what do you feel needs to change when we talk about getting over the top offensively in those key moments?
Yeah, look, I'm just as responsible, right? That last football game, there was 5 turnovers. Those 5 turnovers are on me, right? I'm understanding of that, and the accountability that I think for you guys that have been a part of the press conferences, like when our guys play well, it's because of them, and when they don't, it's because of me. And we address things obviously, in the meeting rooms, but the accountability, it is always going to start and end with me, especially in these settings. And so I take full responsibility for having the ball in the game on the line, and we didn't get it done. Right, and that's what I continue to strive every single. It's like, hey, we get that opportunity again. What am I going to do differently? And that's part of the growth. I think the biggest thing is as we continue to progress year in and year out, is we don't just sit there and just not evaluate our systems and not find ways to grow. Our offense, our defense, our special teams should never look the same year to year. It has to grow. It has to evolve. Players change. The game changes. And I think that that's the most important thing, or else we're going to continue to get the exact same results.
Joe, Brandon, congratulations. Sal Capaccio here. You have often talked, this is a question for both of you. Brandon, you've mentioned alignment. You've mentioned collaboration a lot. How does that look to both of you? What does it mean, alignment and collaboration, when it comes to personnel, selecting players on the roster? How does that look to both of you going forward?
Yeah, look, I can obviously start. Alignment doesn't mean agreeing and everything. Alignment to me means we're both open conversation and communication and understanding that we don't have to be yes men, but when we make a decision, when that door opens, there's no going backwards and there's no second guessing, and we're going all out with it. To me, that's alignment. Alignment is a shared vision for what we want, and making sure that we don't ever lose sight of that when we make decisions. Like when I say, hey, Josh Allen and the guys are always at the forefront of exactly when we make every decision, that's alignment, and making sure as we evaluate and as we continue to go, when we're going to make decisions, we don't lose sight of that. That to me is alignment.
Yeah, I mean, without repeating, I think he nailed that. Just you're collaborating. It's not like, hey, I'm going to go over here with my scouts and my personnel staff, and we're going to tell you who you got, or we're going to hand you the players. Like, it's first off, when he gets this new staff in here, what are we changing? What are we tweaking? If it's something, hey, we want this type of defense, we want to be able to do this in certain situations. These players all fit that, but this player might not fit as well, and we need to look for that. So once we get those coordinators in, and especially on the defense, because I kind of got a pretty good vision of Joe's offense, but defensively, like, bring that coordinator in, bring those position coaches in, and go through the position specifics and how they want to do the things that Joe was talking about, how we want to attack, and that's collaborating in a shared vision. And listen, if there's something that Joe doesn't think makes sense, he's going to speak up. If there's something that I don't think makes sense, I'm going to speak up. But we're going to collaborate on every part of it. And then, what we do as scouts and personnel, and our guys do it for me, they help narrow down a large field, like let's just talk about free agency, down to a smaller field. I'm going to review that, look at them, make sure. I may say, hey, guys, you left somebody out, or why is this guy in? And then, because Joe's got then I'm going to go to Joe and his coordinators and say, hey, take a look at these guys. This is, let me know how you see them. This is how we see them. And if we agree, that's great. That's easy. We know we can pursue them. If we don't agree, we may sit in a room and say, tell me what you see from your lens as a coach, but also hear what I see from a personnel eyes, because we don't get into schemes. A lot of times coaches can look at schemes. We're just like looking at his body type, He's got long arms. He can jump high, like all those things. And sometimes we may miss something. Hey, this guy's got some instinctual things that I'm worried about. That can come up. So I'm getting granular, but I hope you understand it's everything in the process. Hey, when we get to talk about training camp, which I mentioned, like how do we want to practice at camp? How do we want to get with our sports science people and make sure we're building the right team that's fast, physical, calloused, yet healthy? And so that's alignment, that's collaboration, shared vision.
Hey, Joe, Thad Brown, congratulations. Thank you. For the last couple of years, you've been coordinating offense for someone else's team. What changes now that you're going to run an offense for your own team?
I think the biggest thing is understanding that when you're the play caller, your understanding of, as an offensive play caller, everything you're going through is thinking situational football, right? You're having the mindset of, hey, I'm calling this play, this is what's happening next. I'm sure you're trying to stay ahead of it all. When you're an offensive play caller for a head coach, you have to be mindful of those things because you're not in full control of handling all of those situations, right? And that's where a collaborative approach is extremely important. From an offensive coordinator that's calling a play calls with a head coach. But from my perspective, like, look, I was around Sean Payton. I'm from the Sean Payton tree. His aggressiveness, his mindset, and there's so many elements that I believe that we can continue to grow our offense, with the pieces that we have, and I look forward to that.
Quickly, it's been reported that you plan to call plays as the head coach. Is that the plan?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
That was a good segue because that right over here. So, Brandon, I know last week you talked about how the CEO nature of the head coach position, it can tend to stretch you thin in a lot of different ways. So the decision to call plays, Joe, for you, what went into that, knowing all the other responsibilities heading into the head coaching position? And then for Brandon, what made you feel confident in Joe that he's able to do all of those things, including calling the plays?
Yeah, look, I've never been a head coach before, right? I'm understanding of that. The only way to get head coaching experience is to be a head coach. But I think the most important thing is surrounding yourself with people that you can trust and that you can lean on as you grow through it. There's going to be elements, and I'm going to make mistakes. I'm not going to be perfect, right? But I'm going to do everything I can to continue to grow through that. There's going to be a lot of conversation about figuring all that out. But like I said, as an offensive play caller, and every element that you're doing is is game management. You literally don't call a play without already thinking about what it's going to look like next, what the situation or what the defense is going to look like, and you have to have multiple things in mind. But I think the biggest thing is making sure that I'm surrounding myself with the right people that, hey, I can't be in the offensive room on every single second. I'm not the offensive head coach. I'm the head coach. And I'm understanding of that. And it's important that the defensive guys know me. And then I'm able to speak the defensive language and I can communicate with the defensive coaches and the special teams coaches. That's important to me. So it's important when I put together the staff that I put together guys that understand the vision that I'm looking for with different ideas and putting it together so that I don't live and do everything like I did as offensive coordinator because I'm not the offensive coordinator anymore.
Yeah, Joe, to segue off that, I think that was part of the process of making sure that we didn't view Joe as just the OC, but his staff, which he's mentioned, and his plan for surrounding himself with people, and obviously he's got relationships. He's mentioned Coach Payton and other guys that have done this, and so anytime you hire, and we interviewed some people that had a head coaching job and some that had not, but anytime you hire someone for the first time and they're doing this, there is a little bit of unknown. But I believe his plan, his vision, and our communication, I think we'll be able to support him where he needs it, which he will. And he said he's going to learn along the way. I would think if you sit down 12 months from now, Joe's going to say, man, that was wild. I learned a lot, and I'm going to be even more prepared, for season 2. Mm-hmm.
Hi, Joe. You mentioned all the great coaches you've learned under. Over time, how did you build a vision for how you wanted a football team to operate?
I think in all the places that you go, you're consistently learning, taking notes, not necessarily from the coaches that you're working on, but, teams that you're going against, the way that the football evolves. But the biggest thing that I learned all the way is that if I'm not myself, it's not going to work. If I try to just, pick up, this is what Coach Payton did and take it somewhere else, that's not going to work. I think that that's important, that I have to be me. And I think the great coaches that I've been around have been comfortable in who they are. Like look, as you guys know, I do curse. I stutter on some words. Like, I am me, and I'm comfortable in that. And I think my guys understand that. But I'm going to be my personality, and I think the great coaches that I've been around are comfortable in who they are and know their strengths, and put together a staff on things that they might necessarily be their strong points.
Brandon, I was curious, considering who you were interviewing, was there a conversation about waiting for coaches in the Super Bowl in this process, or what was that like with getting the late start on going through this coaching process?
Yeah, great question, Elena. Because when we started, the NFL rules allow you to do Zooms up to a certain point with any candidate, as long as you follow along at the right time based on whether they're in the postseason or not. But because of when this change was made and when we started our search, we were no longer allowed to talk to coaches that were still in the postseason. To the point, the way we did it was we said, let's go ahead and start this process with all available coaches. Their seasons have ended, and we timed these up to run. We were interviewing even while the games started on Sunday. And so we said, there are some other candidates that are playing, and there's some on each team. We had them identified, and we got on with them the next day and did that. But we can't even, because of the rules, we can't even Zoom anyone on either of the remaining teams. And you hate to rule it out, but I think you would unfairly hurt them because all the staffs are going to be filled up. And I just don't know if it would be fair to them or the Bills to wait any longer. It's, I've long been a proponent of changing the hiring process, if you guys remember, and I've brought up rules changes, but I don't make the rules. And my job is to make sure I'm always doing what's best for the Buffalo Bills. And so I just thought once we got to this point, it would be, just not smart to wait any longer. We need our guys, as long as we find the right guy. Now, listen, if we went through these 9 and we said that we're not going to force it, but we had some very good options when we did this. And clearly at the end, Joe was the man for the job.
Lance Lysowski from the Buffalo News. Congrats, Joe. Questions for both of you guys. How do you balance personnel you have on the roster, salary cap, and your vision for a possible scheme change on defense specifically as you move forward and build a vision for what you want this to look like?
Yeah, I would say we're going to have to take that one day at a time. We got to get these coaches hired and get them in here. And, Joe and I have already been talking about some of the things. But I do think on defense, like if we were to make, a change to, and Joe's looking at different things, nothing's but a 5 down front or whatever. Like, we do think we have some pieces that can already fit in that. But as I said earlier, maybe some don't fit as well. And we'll talk about what that looks like. And then we'll look in free agency and we'll try and identify some guys that would come in and fit whatever the defense is going to be, and then obviously as we get into April, work closer on that. The cap, we don't even know the cap number. We've already, I already kind of know some things that we're going to need to do to get under the cap, whatever that number is. And, it's just hard to get too far down the road, Lance, to talk this player or that player. But I know those conversations will intensify over the next, 3 or 4 weeks.
And look, it's obviously a unique situation, right? Because we don't have coordinators. But in my opinion, and once you get a coordinator, and the biggest thing is you got to surround your system with the players that you have. You don't make players just fit a system. You make a system fit players. And I think that's the most important thing as we continue to grow. That's why your offense, defense, things change. Guys get injured. That's why your offense, your defense should be able to have flexibility to play in different personnel groupings, different weather, and if you only have one way to go with it, and you only have this is the only way that this can work, and you can't adjust and adapt, I think that's when you get some issues. And so obviously this is a situation where it's vision and it's personality and identifying exactly what we're looking for in a scheme, and then we can continue to build around that. But once you get that, it's more of, okay, this is what we got. Let's not just bang our heads against the wall and say, hey, it doesn't matter. This is what I'm running no matter what. It's no, hey, what do these guys do well? And let's put them in position to have success.
Joe, congratulations. Matt Perino, Syracuse.com.
You mentioned coming from Sean Payton's tree, and I'm sure you've had conversations with guys over the years who are calling plays and also in-game management, like head coaching, big picture stuff. How do you plan to navigate all that as a first-time coach? I think a lot of fans are interested in that and the challenges that go into navigating all the new responsibilities.
Yeah, I think that's part of the growth, and just like my first time when I took over at LSU, I was a coaching assistant. I'd never called plays before, and it was the same. Hey, how are you going to game plan? How are you going to put together a call sheet? How are you going to get? You figure it out. You grow, you learn, you try to do everything you can to put you in the best position to have success, and then you learn from mistakes and you continue to grow from there. I'm going to do a lot of I've done in the past years. This isn't something where I just out of nowhere I decided this is an opportunity. I hope I can be the head coach here. Like I believe stay ready so you don't have to get ready. And so everything that I've done is making sure, and when this opportunity ever did come up, that I had a plan for exactly what I was looking like, and making sure that I'm in constant communication with people of, hey, what did you learn on the job? What would you have done differently? And because at the end of the day, all I know is what I know, but I'm making sure that I'm surrounding myself with people that, and hearing them out and from their experiences. And we're going to bring a lot of different coaches in that have been around people that have done it. And so just making sure that I'm exhausting all the avenues, knowing that I don't have all the answers. But if I surround myself with enough people and I'm open enough, that I'll be able to find out what works best for us.
I didn't say congrats earlier, so congrats.
Yeah, well, I didn't want to answer
it was
your
very
question.
rude. Wanted to get that off.
No, you're good, buddy.
When people reach like a life-changing milestone, I'm always curious, just from the human element, when you finally find out that you got this job, who and what do you start to think about? Like, what are those first initial thoughts?
My wife. I am because of the people in my life. It was never, there's no element in my life has ever been about me. There's no, I don't put trophies behind me. I don't do anything there's nothing that I do because of me. It's because of the people that I surround myself, the people that do all the sacrifices for that. I love to work. So it's like, hey, I'm going to go home, let my wife know, hey, now I got to get back. It's time to work. Like, I enjoy that. There's no, that competitive stamina that I believe I'm going to continue to instill in our guys is the same mindset that I have to have. But I don't look at it as like, man, this is an achievement. This is an opportunity to do what I love and an opportunity to work. And I'm just grateful for the people that I get to do it with.
Dave Naylor from TSN. Brandon, with respect to what you said, you tried to treat Joe as if he was working for somebody else and not make it about history. But you and him and other people here have had a tremendous amount of success over the last 4 seasons that Joe's been a part of overall. Was there any part of you that didn't want to depart completely from all of that? And does Joe represent some consistency with that? Again, with respect to what you said about him being with another team, I'm just wondering if you can balance those things for me.
Yeah, I mean, that's I never really thought through the process of the years that Joe was here. I honestly, too, just said 2022, they kind of run together. No, it was, I went into it with a blank slate of, we got to find the right guy. And I would say the odds, when you have one person from the building and 8 outside the building, I would say the odds were against Joe being selected. That's just God's honest truth. And I can tell you there's some candidates that we interviewed that are going to be really good head coaches. But at the end of the day, when you're stacking, I mean, we had a list that put together, what do we want what do you look for in a general head coach, and then what do you want in the Buffalo Bills head coach? And there's some, can be a little tweak here or there. When you're at the end and you're starting to pair some people out and get it down to 3, 4, and then 1 or 2, you're checking those boxes. And while no one is going to 100% check every single box, Joe checked a lot of boxes, and we think the areas, some of it is the box, he's never done it before, you can't check that box, but ultimately we think knowing him, knowing his vision, and knowing the team and the support staff that we have here, that we can help fill in some of those areas. We all have holes in our game, so to speak, me included, and that's where I think Joe and I will complement each other, and it's been fun for 2 days to look at him in a different light than what I looked at him before.
And I can kind of talk through that too, because look, full transparency, I didn't know what I was walking into. Like obviously I wanted the opportunity, but you don't know. And I have been in the building, and that's what I remember when I got out of that interview, and like I said, it was an intense interview, and there's some places that I've interviewed that acted as if they knew me more than this place, and that's what I was appreciative of. But when you go through the process of, you can really tell that I came away, and I remember calling my agent right away, and I was like, man, that was, I talked about how tough it was, but I also talked about how impressive I came away with how they approached it. The questions, what mattered to them. I mean, Josh did not toss me any alley-oops, I can tell you that. Like, it was impressive, even the questions that he asked and the vision that he was, kind of talking through. And so it gave me an opportunity to obviously, get in front of Mr. Pegula, and it meant a lot to me. But the way that they approached the situation meant more to me. I didn't walk away feeling like, oh, hey, you know what, I was just in-house, hey, check the box. Like, I walked away and I was appreciative of the opportunity, and I was able to show who I am because they allowed me to, they didn't sit there and say, hey, we know this guy.
Joe, you got guys that's on the staff that was with you, such as Ron Curry, who was quarterback coach, the same position that you were in. And then you got guys that on the defensive side, which was the number one passing defense, that that played an integral part. How would guys like Jamel Uday and guys like Ron Curry share some of the qualities when you look to building that staff?
Yeah, I think, look, the biggest thing that to me is when you put together a staff is understanding the different type of personalities and making sure that you have a bunch of different backgrounds, both schematically, personality, and not just sitting there looking for a cookie cutter. If we have a bunch of Joe Brady's in the room, we're not going to grow and we're not going to evolve. And that's important to me. And so putting together that staff, there's so many critical elements that I look for, different type of people. Some guys might be more fundamental driven. Some guys might be the energy, the juice, the rah-rah guys. Some guys might be the calm communicators, and understanding the type of rooms that they're coaching and putting that room together is so important to me. And so making sure as I'm looking at it from a clean slate, just like they did, and saying, hey, what am I looking to? I only get one opportunity to be a head football coach. I'm not in the business of hiring my friends and making sure I want to get the best football coaches for these players because they deserve that. And so that's what's important to me.
Absolutely. Now, diving into player development, you got young guys such as Max Harrison, Dwayne Carter, Keon Coleman. What would be your approach into their development going forward?
I think the biggest thing is making sure that we go back and evaluate our systems to start. And that's in every element of the organization. There's a reason they're on our football team because we believe in them. Right? And they need, one, understand that. And I think, two, is understanding and communicating to get to know them. The only way you can coach guys is if you really know them. How can I hold him accountable? How can I communicate to him? How can I understand how he views this if I don't care about him and I don't get to know the other person? And so that's what the biggest thing for me this off season, just is to talk with the guys, get on the FaceTimes, try to get an understanding that I'm not the offensive coordinator anymore. Right? I'm their head coach, and I want to get to know them so that then I can be able to coach them and continue to develop them the way that they need.
Hey, Joe, there was a lot written and talked about the downfield passing game this year, and obviously you're as close to it as anybody. What do you look at? I'm sure you've reviewed it all. How is that going to improve? What do you have to do to make this team more functional down the field than it was last season?
Yeah, look, there's so many different elements that come into just saying downfield passing, right? We ended up finishing second in the NFL in explosives, right? And so there's so many different ways of how you can throw the ball 20 yards and get a 20-yard completion. You can throw the ball behind the line of scrimmage and get a 20-yard completion. There's so many different ways you can get that. But I also think you have to understand that you got to be able to attack the defense and stretch the defense vertically. But you also got to be smart about what you're going with and making sure that Josh is making great decisions as he's handling that. That's an element of our game that has to improve, and it will improve. And it has to improve in the offseason as we get into the situations of we don't have pads and it's a passing camp essentially. Like I said, I'm from the Sean Payton tree, right? And the way that I was raised and understand that the aggressiveness of pushing the ball on the field and what it does. But I also understand we're not going to just bang our heads against the wall. And if people are as deep as the deepest and it's like, hey, Josh, just throw it deep. But we're going to continue to evolve and change and grow our offense based upon the personnel that we have. Josh is going to continue to grow and get better. And then we're going to be able to put an offense around that. But just to say, hey, we're just going to throw it deep, just to throw it deep, we got to make sure that we're effective at it as well.
Hey, Joe. Jay with the Buffalo News. How much autonomy did you have over the last couple of years to call the offense that you wanted to call versus having it fit into a vision that was maybe laid out by the head coach?
Look, there's a way to win every game, and that's to me the most important thing. And as a head football coach, sharing the vision and making sure that you're communicating with your coordinators about this is what it's going to take to win this football game. Part of I do believe calling plays is understanding that as well. When you look at us from an offensive perspective this year, there was games where we lived in 13 personnel and needed to control the line of scrimmage and control the game. There was games that we knew, hey, this is going to probably be a high-scoring game, and you got to call it differently. Look, I'm the play caller, and I'm not gonna put any excuses or anything like that. If there was any issues or anything that came up from an offensive coordinator perspective for offense, that falls strictly on me. And I was in communication with Coach McDermott, and at the end of the day, we have to grow our offense. I know we had a lot of success this last year, but we looked different than the previous year, and we're going to have to continue to look different next year.
There it is, the Joe Brady introductory press conference from earlier today here in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
A lot to get to there, and we should also point out Josh Allen speaking afterward where we learned, he broke his foot, fifth metatarsal, he just kind of removed it. Is that did you know you could just say bone in your foot?
Don't really need that one.
Don't need that one.
Yeah. I hear that and I think, okay, he's going to be fine in time for OTAs. But then I also hear that I'm like, well, he's 30 and he's missing a bone in his foot now. And what does that mean for his mobility in the future? And these injuries, they start to add up as you get older. As you get older, it's a little bit harder and harder to recover. So nothing really to be concerned about, but it was a little jarring to see him on crutches in a walking boot, knowing that he had a broken bone removed from his foot.
Another thing, too, and this was Brady speaking to reporters after the press conference where he disclosed that he stood on the table for Keon Coleman when it came to the draft, and that Keon has a spot on this team.
And Josh Allen echoed that sentiment.
Yeah.
We're not giving up on zero. Lots to get to and lots to unpack from the Joe Brady introductory press conference. We have time for your calls. Happy hour is here. We're going to take a quick break and come back with your reaction. Join us on the Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub Wingman line. That's 866-4FAN. Award-winning barbecue from Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub, 135 West Commercial Street in East Rochester. GoodSmokeBBQ.com.
From Danger and Battaglia, Bills and the Sabres and the Amherst. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
It's happy hour. You're in the sports bar. Thanks for joining us at 95.7 FM, AM 950. Our YouTube stream is up on The Fan Rochester, our channel there, and also on Twitch at The Fan Rochester. You can also hear us mobile on the Odyssey, iHeartRadio, or TuneIn apps. Danger here. Battaglia there.
Yeah, I think Joe Brady won the press conference.
Yay.
Yeah.
Congratulations. You won the press conference. That means absolutely nothing. But there are some takeaways. There are some things that I think you can very clearly see based on the words of Joe Brady and Brandon Beane earlier. One of the biggest things for me, and Josh Allen as well mentioning this, Keon Coleman isn't going anywhere, folks. Keon Coleman is on this team. Now, partially because there's no value to Keon Coleman when the owner basically throws the player under the bus last week, right?
Yeah, and Joe Brady just kind of accepting responsibility basically for the pick, saying I stood on the table for Keon, and the best thing that had happened for Keon Coleman is me becoming his head coach.
So now you can kind of see that picture playing out, and Terry Pagula saying that Brandon Beane was being a good team. Brandon Beane was listening to his offensive coordinator. His offensive coordinator wanted Keon Coleman, and he got him. Now we'll see if we can unlock Keon Coleman with Joe Brady as the head coach and potentially no governor, which he might have had with Sean McDermott.
Yeah, it's like, and at the end of the press conference, one of the questions, wait a second, the way you called these games, was this dictated by McDermott? And in a roundabout way, he said, sure, that's, we're in tune there. If we have to run the ball, we'll run the ball. If you have to throw, we'll throw. I want to see how that offense kind of evolves. I think it's kind of interesting, and right at the beginning, too, talking about the defense, and he's making sure that those guys that are coming back know I'm not just going to be, I'm also here for that side of the ball. And we don't have any updates as far as where the Buffalo Bills are going to go in terms of a defensive coordinator. Maybe we have that tomorrow. Maybe we have that early next week.
We do have a move, though, and I do think that this is an important one. And if you're a believer like I am, that you build from the inside out, you want to make sure that you're winning in the trenches, that your offensive line, your defensive line are winning battles. And losing Aaron Kromer to retirement isn't a nothing for the Buffalo Bills. Aaron Kromer is one of, if not the best offensive line coach in the NFL. He has been for a long time. The Bills are going to hire Steelers offensive line coach Pat Meyer. So he'll work with Joe Brady. The two men worked together in Carolina. There's also another connection with Meyer, and this might make you feel better about the move. He was actually with the Bills in 2015 and 2016 as an assistant under Aaron Kromer. So a lot of what he speaks, this offensive line should understand.
I just don't think the Steelers had a very good running game. Now, you could say that was the personnel. In Pittsburgh, it could be like, okay, you had a fossil at quarterback. But
you just didn't have a good offensive line either. I mean, I think their offensive line is a far cry from what it used to be when you were protecting Ben Roethlisberger.
Well, and I found this interesting, too, where they held this press conference in the weight room, and the reason mainly they did it, they had more space there, and they could put up the monitors, and it printed better on TV, honestly, than the media room, because it looked a little sharper. You had a podium, all that stuff. While you're in the weight room, there actually was a player working out. Cedric Van Pran Granger, remember him from Georgia? Started on the national championship team, a center. But you know what? We've got Connor McGovern, and that was the year where McGovern was playing guard. He's moving over to center. Ooh, will this work?
Has he had 2 years on the roster now?
Yes.
Two straight years. So now going into his third year.
Right. So you've been here for a reason. And when we'll get to the roster moves here that are coming up. February, crying out loud, is next week. Connor McGovern gets a good offer from somewhere else, I don't think Buffalo is going to, pony up. They have limited funds. Same thing with David Edwards. So you could see some changes on that offensive line, 2 potential new starters, and I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I mean, Van Pran Granger was, by all accounts, a good pick. He hasn't been on the field because you haven't needed him. You've had him for depth, and you've had him. I always thought it was interesting that when anything happened to McGovern, it was always Alec Anderson that went to center.
Yeah.
And maybe there's something to that as well. Maybe Van Prank Ranger's fixing to be a guard. Who knows? They can mix and match it however they want to. They draft these guys knowing that they're versatile players. But I don't know that you have the luxury to overspend on Connor McGovern with a new contract when you have Van Prank Ranger still on his rookie deal for another couple of seasons.
And, your other big headline story, your starting quarterback was on crutches and a walking boot. And, yes, he did have surgery. Josh Allen having a broken bone. It was his 5th metatarsal in his foot. And actually, I didn't even know this. You can take a bone out of your foot and just put a pin in there and everything is going to be okay. All right, that's what they're saying. Allen adding, too, like if the Bills were playing right now, he would, quote-unquote, figure it out. So,
I mean, the guy played down the stretch with a broken foot. That's kind of what you want to hear from your quarterback. That's a gritty, gutty performance, and I'm not excusing that as the reason, that might play part into why he was so turnover prone against Denver. Like, let's face it, when you have a pain on your body, it can take. I've been dealing with a shoulder since July, and there are moments where it just overwhelms me. I lose focus because, God damn, this hurts. I can't imagine playing football with a broken foot.
Adrenaline takes over, that sort of thing.
I'm sure there's other things that take over as well, but yes.
Toradol, mainly.
Yes, of course. And he, when he says we would figure it out, yeah, you would figure it out. Somebody would figure it out, and you're probably going to get out there. But, man, just gritty and everything that you knew he was, he's just confirming it, and he sets the tone. An emotional Joe Brady to start with his speech.
So Brady, and part of this was unscripted, which I give him credit, but he goes in and right away, hey, there were players there today. And he's, man hugging them and he's, shouting them out. And then he realizes his family's there, his wife. And this always, he goes up to the podium and he shares the story how important his wife is, that he's driving into a game knowing his wife is going into labor, and then the game is over, and she's delivered their child.
He missed a game. He didn't miss a game. He missed the birth of his child to be at a game.
Correct.
This is very Adam Gase-like.
This is Adam Gase-like, and when we had Brandon Beane on during training camp, we were talking about culture, and yes, he has that CVS quote, about, kids, staying away, it's good to get away. But he also said, hey, if I find out that one of my staffers is missing your kid's recital, you're going to hear it from me.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's a convenient quote then.
Yeah.
Did he know that Joe Brady on his staff then? He was.
He was.
Did he have his kid by then? Maybe. I don't know.
Well, he's just trying to set a tone here, but he went out of his way to mention that. And I don't know if it's like how much, she means to me and my wife, but I don't know about you, Danger. I don't know if I could recover from missing the birth of a child.
That would weigh pretty heavily on me. Yeah, that would weigh pretty heavily on me. I mean, I feel guilty if I miss a recital or a match or whatever it might be.
My dad missed mine, but for good reason. He was serving at the time. So kind of saw me a few hours later.
Yeah. So the Joe Brady press conference concluded. Brandon Beane and Joe Brady taking questions from the media. Lots of congratulations. Lots of glad handling happening. And now we move forward. We see how this staff rounds out and what's next for Joe Brady. We can tell you that as far as defensive candidates go, we learned that the 49ers today interviewed Raheem Morris, Joe Woods, Gus Bradley. No word on Jim Schwartz. And I'm still wondering, did he leave Buffalo okay? Did he think, screw Buffalo? Well, where's Jim Schwartz head at?
Well, Jim Schwartz, I'm sure the Browns, being the Browns, are going to say, hey, you want Jim Schwartz? Let's talk compensation.
Sure.
Jim Schwartz, I haven't seen anywhere is free and clear.
Yeah.
So that's good.
And not seeing him on that long list of candidates for the 49ers leads you to believe that maybe they are holding it up. But and then you have to wonder, do they want somebody who has head coaching experience? Do they want somebody to just You handle the defense, I'll handle the offense, and I'll be the head coach, but you're the head coach of the defense. You just do that.
That's why you're not saying this cheeky. Danger calls this. I wait for this to happen.
I'm not wishing this to happen. By the way.
Steve Wilkes, who goes back a long way with Brandon Beane, that quote we dug up about, hey, if it were me, I would have hired Steve Wilkes and not Sean McDermott. Like, wow. Steve Wilkes, who, hey, the 49ers fired. 1 year as a head coach in Arizona. Last year, the Jets defensive coordinator. Statistically, one of the worst of all time. Not a single interception. The only team in NFL history to do that. They would have done it in 17 games or 16 games. They were actually.
Yeah. We'll see. I'm not wishing that to happen, but man, it feels like that's what could happen. But we'll see. You know, if Jim Leonhard is out there, that could be exciting. It could also be terrifying in that you get a guy who's never called a defense before. Now is your defensive coordinator. But we had Maggie Gray on with us earlier, and one of her former coworkers, and Bart Scott, praising Jim Leonhard. Great guy, smart guy, fiery guy, a guy that will absolutely make a great coach.
Let's sneak in one call. John in Rochester.
Hey
guys, great. That was a great press conference. Listen, firing McDermott was a huge mistake. There's no doubt about it. But they made up with it, and they did it in a good way. I think their only choices would have been Brady or Dable. That was it, because of the continuity factor. If they would have gone outside the organization, I really think that would have put a real damper on the team. I think this way, the team, I think, is psyched up, and I'll tell you, Brady sounded great. He really did. But I just heard it from you guys. Cromer is gone, huh?
Yeah, he retired.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a huge loss. I know. The kid from Pittsburgh he's not going to be a Cromer, I don't think. But that kind of disappoints me. But Jim Schwartz, he's our man. Jim Leonhard, if he can coach like he played, he'd be phenomenal too. But I'm not sure about Jim Leonhard's background. I know he was a defensive coordinator. Is that right?
Yeah, he was, and he was an interim head coach, John, thanks, at Wisconsin. Okay, Big Ten program. You heard from Maggie Gray earlier in the show because Bart Scott, who did a show for many years with Maggie Gray, Bart Scott, they played in the Jets, loves the guy.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody, you should be excited if Jim Leonhard ends up being the next Bills.
It'll be fun. I think it'll be fun. It'll be exciting. I think it could also be terrifying. The idea that you don't have somebody with that background coming in, but you when do you get the chance? You got to get that chance. And one thing that John said there, that it had you needed the continuity. If you really wanted change, you don't need the continuity. If you really wanted change,
you would have fired Brandon Beane.
You would have blown the whole thing up.
Yeah.
They don't really want change. They want you to believe they want change. They pinned it all on Sean McDermott. They don't really want change. This isn't a power play. I'm insulted that you would think that this was all a power play. Brandon Beane got promoted. Joe Brady got promoted. Now, I'm not saying that makes them bad guys. I'm not saying that we should feel sorry for Sean McDermott or anything like that. I'm just saying read between the lines and recognize you're being lied to. Right? These are half truths that are being told. I don't like power play guys. If you're a power play guy, then you're out. You got two guys that are now running this organization that are power play guys.
And this was noteworthy. In the opening 5 minutes of Joe Brady, he used the word alignment 4 times.
Alignment is yes. I want a yes guy. I want a guy. Yes, Mr. P.
And Joe Brady later on, like he listens to Sports Bar, alignment, when he was asked about that, alignment doesn't mean me being a yes guy.
Yeah. and I didn't think his answer was wrong on that. I don't think he's necessarily wrong when he answered it the way he answered it, but make no mistake, this is what they wanted.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted continuity, even though they said we needed to make a change. Well, okay, if you need to make a change, then make that change. But this would have been, would you really have trusted Terry Pagula's ability to hire a new GM and head coach? This team is not equipped for that.
No.
This owner is not equipped for that kind of decision right now. Right now, this is as good as it's going to get. And we'll see. If he won the press conference, that's great. We'll see how it all shakes out here. And you're right. We'll be talking about free agency, and we'll be talking about the draft, and we'll see what this roster looks like.
Combine about a month away. Cannot wait. We've got shots coming up, and we got time for your calls on the other side, 866-4FAN.
Yeah, we'll get to a round of shots. Last call as well. Join us now, 866-4326.
On Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. The Fan, Rochester.
Happy Hour continues in the Sports Bar. It's time for a round of shots, Gino.
Before we get to the round of shots, can I just give a little hat tip to our listeners? I mean, it's kind of subjective to say we have the best listeners, but I'm going to say it from this standpoint. That our listeners give us creative ideas and they go above and beyond. So it hit us this week that one of our bits we have to retire. Sean McDermott's no longer the head coach of this team. Sean McDermott McLies, which we had a lot of fun. It was great because it happened organically, and we would have a little fun with it. And the Bills never called to complain. We always did it in good nature.
Well, it was always, it's not that he's blatantly lying, but he's over-exaggerating so much. It's like, okay, you're lying. Like, I think my favorite still is Andre Roberts is certainly a future Hall of Famer. Like, knowing that he was going up against a former teammate, a guy that was on his team that was now at the time, I believe, playing for Houston. And, yeah, he's certainly going to be in the Hall of Fame. Like, you're lying. Stop. It's one thing to, say the right thing. It's another thing to just overdo it. That was just too much.
Yeah, it was a little too much. And so we put it out to you. Hey, Joe Brady is now the new head coach. Well, okay, Brady lies. No, Brady's bull. We had all the suggestions. Brady bunk, Brady baloney, Brady balderdash. It was your buddy over at the Wings. You played.
Bobo.
Yeah.
Bob Craig slid into my DMs, and he's like, what if you did Brady Lies, but you did it to the tune of Little Lies by Fleetwood Mac? We were talking about this yesterday. And Sean in Long Island, who's Bills Mafia, listens to the show all the time. The author of our show open, right? Came up with this.
Tell me lies, tell me sweet Brady lies. Tell me lies, tell me Brady lies.
Winner. I think we have a winner.
Do we have any Brady audio from that press conference? Just randomly, would it work putting that through?
Do you want 30 seconds on Joe Brady's energy? His energy. 30 seconds. How many?
4.
We got to move forward, right? And I think it starts with a new energy, a new mentality, and a new vision. A new energy that I got to drive every single day. One thing that the guys know about me, and it might be from espresso, it might be from Gatorade Fast Twitches, but I'm going to bring the energy every single day. And I believe people are going to feed off of that. I truly believe in being the temperature, right? I'm the weather, and they're going to feel it every single day. A mentality. I believe in everything about these guys right here, right? And a mentality as we go forward, that it is a nameless, faceless opponent that we're going against. And they got to play us and not the other way around.
That's sick.
I do like I am the weather. I like that a lot.
That's a coach.
I do like that. I don't know that I've ever heard that one before. I am the weather. So we have a winner. And thank you, Bobo. And thank you, Sean in Long Island. We have Brady Lies. Sweet Brady Lies. We will hold him accountable. Don't worry.
We've got the Sabres. We've got other stuff. And normally I'll save this for the kicker of the last one. This is just too good. So the follow-up to Bill Belichick, right?
Okay.
Bill Belichick, of course, not going to be in the Hall of Fame, and it's leading us to wonder, all right, well, what was really behind that? And then you realize, wait a second. One prominent voice, perhaps the only voice in his inner circle right now, has yet to weigh in as we're waiting to hear what Jordan Hudson has to say about that.
Right. The child bride.
Well, leave it to the Daily Mail. And they are hearing from other people that Jordan would like either an engagement ring or the wedding itself, Danger, on the day of the enshrinement ceremony.
That's what she wants.
That is what she would like.
Yeah, maybe she should keep waiting. I don't think it's happening. I mean, I'm sure there's a part of Belichick that is miffed about this, right? Like, that seems like a slap in the face, and we'll never really know truly why or how this happened. I mean, I have a couple of things that I think have emerged here in the last couple of days since we learned this. And the biggest thing that I took away was what I read from Kansas City. The voter for Kansas City who wrote an article on it, put his name on it, and said, here's why Bill Belichick wasn't on my ballot. And the way he laid it out makes it less about the voter and more about the process that the voter has to go through.
Well, I mean, he's saying if I vote for Belichick, then L.C. Greenwood may never get in, and I feel obligated. But if you haven't made it in before, that's not really...
It's your last chance.
It's your last chance. I'm sorry. Like, that's not a good enough defense, in my opinion. I'll give the writer in KC, because I'm sure he's hearing about it.
Guts to put it out there.
Yeah, now, unlike Bill Polian, who, I'm sorry. You want to talk about a liar.
I don't know. Did I vote for him? I don't remember. Somebody check on me and make sure that I did vote for him. And then there's the other conspiracy out there that this was Robert Kraft working behind the scenes to ensure that he gets in before Belichick gets in. I mean, let's face it, that's a strained relationship, and he'll say nice things and statements and play nice through the media. But those two guys, they don't like each other. And there's a part of me that believes that conspiracy, that it was Kraft campaigning not just for himself to get in, but for Belichick to stay out.
Yeah, Maggie Grace said, "Hey, he cheated." Okay, that we have to acknowledge that. But then, does that mean Tom Brady has? That would be stunning if they made Brady wake.
Right.
We'll take calls here. It's kind of we're mashing two segments together. Shots and last call. 866-4FAN. Tony in the city. Hey, Tony.
Hey guys, thanks for taking my call. I just want to say that Joe Brady is he proved it today that he's in way over his head. You can't appoint a rookie head coach with a great quarterback. He's sitting there saying, well, I'm going to make mistakes and I'm going to learn. Well, that's why you don't have a rookie head coach. You can't. There's no time for those mistakes. Is he the one who made the mistake and didn't kneel on the ball in the last game with 22 seconds left in the first half and you have no timeouts? You can't make that mistake anymore. Like, the Bills, this is the worst possible thing they could have done. And they had it right in front of them. They should have hired Daboll. It's written in the stars. He's a Buffalo person. It's his dream job, and he has an edge. And the Bills need somebody with an edge. If somebody eats, and I'm going to learn, time's running out on all that. And they need somebody in there, and Daboll's a guy with an edge. He's a guy who's going to, even though going in the blue tent was probably not his best, but he's a guy who tells people, he's going to tell people how it is. Yeah. And I think Brandon Beane doesn't like that.
Yeah.
He doesn't like confrontation. Right. It's yes people. And when you have yes, I mean, think about, you think Belichick wants to learn things? You think Belichick wants to get to know his players in the offseason? You think Sean Payton wants to get to know his players in the offseason? This is the worst possible move the Bills could have done. And all you can do now is hope that the guy learns that he knows how to manage a clock, that he knows how to manage challenges, and that he's going to get in people's faces. And thanks for taking my call.
Tony, great. Look, I appreciate the counterpoint.
You know he's passionate, right?
Yeah.
He's a passionate guy. You know he's passionate, right? Because you're tired. Thanks for the call, Tony.
If Bean were out, you could easily say Daboll would have been the right choice, even though the Giants thing kind of flopped.
It's not what they wanted.
No.
They don't want him. They don't want him
coming
all up in here and challenging. We want alignment. We want collaboration. We want alignment.
I'm going to float this out here. Maggie floated this out there too. If you're talking about defensive coordinators, if Tampa can call about McDermott, can the Bills call to Bill Belichick?
I think that's funny. First of all, I think it's funny that she thought that was where I was going. When I was laying out my case, I don't want this to happen, but I believe this could happen. I believe this would very much be in Brandon Beane's wheelhouse to bring in a guy that he worked with in Carolina, a guy that's been a head coach and a guy that's been a defensive coordinator, albeit maybe not a great defensive coordinator. He's a defensive coordinator, got the 49ers defense to the Super Bowl after Robert Saleh left and still got fired. He was scapegoated. And that's Steve Wilkes. And Maggie thought I was going to say Bill Belichick. And I'm like, Bill Belichick didn't even cross my mind because it just seems so out there. Like there's just no way that he's going to say, I want to get back in the NFL so I could be a defensive coordinator for Buffalo.
Well, if you're Terry Pegula, is he involved in this? Okay, who's going to be our defensive coordinator, and do I like that name? What? I would make the call.
You make the call, but I think you know the answer before you even make the call.
He's not coming to Buffalo.
And furthermore, based on everything that we've been saying and everything that they've shown us, Belichick is absolutely a guy that you wouldn't want because he is going to push everything. He's going to question everything. He is going to turn things upside down. Jim Schwartz may be great. Maybe the perfect candidate, but I don't know that Jim Schwartz is going to get hired because he feels like that kind of guy.
Well, and then it doesn't fit for this, too, because if there's one thing we learned about Joe Brady today. I was like, Joe Brady missed his child being born because they were playing a game. Joe Brady is going to be working his ass off. Is Joe Brady at the office right now looking at tape of the Miami Dolphins? He's probably looking at something. I'll say that.
Yeah.
Okay? Bill Belichick wants to be on Nantucket or wherever. And by the way, he's earned it.
Yeah.
He's earned it.
With Jordan. Well, let's see. Maybe an engagement, maybe a wedding on Hall of Fame weekend.
I just see the news cycle taking a different turn. Maybe it's tomorrow, maybe it's the next day. But when Jordan speaks,
yeah,
how dare you do this to my man? No Sabre goaltender has ever won 10 straight games. Alex Lyon. Who would have thought when the Sabres signed there? Who is that?
Who? Yeah.
Who? He has a chance to do it tonight. Buffalo hosting the Kings. Lions shutting out the Islanders 5-0 in his last game. Now, Lyon has been playing every other game. They're going to need him to play more as UPL has a lower body injury. He's going to be reevaluated next week, which means he's going to be out until the Olympic break. Head coach Lindy Ruff says, well, he doesn't know what that's going to mean for Luukkonen and Team Finland. Not really his problem.
Right.
Coverage begins at 7. Kings and Sabres tonight on the Fan.
I'm going to say something I haven't said in a long time. I'm looking forward to watching Sabres hockey tonight. After they beat Toronto and the way they've been playing, I mean, playing the Kings at home, yes, sign me up. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to pour a nice glass of brown liquid, and I'm going to watch some Sabres hockey tonight. I'm looking forward to it.
I want to see, like, on a Thursday night, how the crowd comes out. Can they draw 16,000 plus? Then we'll know.
Yeah.
Tonight. I know the weather's bad, whatever. Artemi Panarin held out at last night's Rangers game due to, as they listed it, roster management. Translation, he's played his last game as a Ranger.
Sure.
The team is a week out like everyone else from the Olympic break. GM Chris Drury told the 34-year-old apparently team's not going to resign him, meaning Panarin will likely be traded. Panarin has been New York's leading scorer 5 of the last 6 seasons.
Love the bread, man. Kevin Weeks putting out there that he's been told the following teams have expressed interest in Panarin: Anaheim, L.A., San Jose, Vegas, Dallas, Utah, Colorado, Minnesota, Seattle, Toronto, Carolina. I should tell you who's not interested: Carolina, Washington, Tampa Bay, the Islanders. It's going to be the entire league wants a piece of Panarin, Breadman. And so not seeing Buffalo on this list that Kevin Weeks is reporting kind of makes me think Buffalo is absolutely in. They're just working their channels.
So where does Panarin want to resign?
That's it.
That's it. Like,
Yes.
because if he'll resign somewhere,
He has to approve it.
But there's a risk there where you have this young team, and now you're going to bring in somebody from the outside, and you're going to pay them a wad of cash, and they're going to be the one that gets the cash first. I don't know if the timeline.
Dude, I think Breadman is worth it. I think that guy as a goal scorer is worth it. You bring him in, and it's just an offensive infusion that we have some guys like Tage is great goal scorer. Add another one, I would do it. I would do it right away. And you could see with the amount of teams that are interested, guy can still play.
Jessica Pegula, again, will not be winning a major. Her rally today at the Australian Open, not enough. She was able to throw it off 3 match points. Elena Rybakina, 6-3, 7-6.
This is terrible, man. This is the Pegula family they get to a certain point, and that is it.
Can't close.
She is the Buffalo Bills of women's tennis.
Pegula wasn't going to beat Sabalenka, though.
No.
To me, Sabalenka, head and shoulders above everybody else.
Yeah, she's
right now.
unbelievable.
Hey, Matthew Lecroy's coming back for another year
All
as
right.
Wings manager. 6th season here in Rochester. We are less than 2 months away from the season opener, March 27th at Jacksonville. Home opener for the Wings Tuesday, March 31st against Scranton Wilkes-Barre. Finally, ESPN broadcaster Dan Orlovsky told the story on a podcast about his time as the Detroit Lion. Orlovsky was waiting for a play call to come in on a first down from his OC. Instead, he heard over his headset that the offensive coordinator was snoring. That is a true story. His offensive coordinator in Detroit falling asleep, so we have to figure this out.
Yep.
Here were the offensive coordinators. Greg Olson, Ted Tollner.
While he was there.
Yes.
Okay.
Olson, Ted Tollner, Mike Martz, Jim Caloletto, Jim Bob Cooter, Joe Lombardi. I have a theory, Danger. You go ahead. You with your guess.
I know exactly who it is because we haven't heard from him. He was absolutely eliminated. Like, we haven't heard from Mike Martz in so long. Where was Mike Martz after he was the OC in Detroit? Nowhere. Why? Because he fell asleep during a game. Mike Martz is my vote.
My vote here is because what would spark this story all of a sudden? Why are you telling this story out? Because Lombardi got fired this week in Denver.
Well, Jim Bob Cooter is getting interviewed. I want to say the Eagles are interviewing Jim Bob Cooter as well. So there's a couple of guys on this list that are still working.
Still working.
And if they're still working, then I would think, because I think news of this is the kind of story that gets told around the campfire, right? And if you're Dan Orlovsky or if you're in that circle and that's the guy, he ain't coaching ever again. I think it's Martz. I'm going with Martz. I'm not saying it's I'm not saying it's Jim Bob or Lombardi. I think it's Martz. Older guy, been there, done that. Just taking another paycheck from a team. We suck. We can't do it.
Backup quarterback.
Completely disinterested, falling asleep during a game.
I guess the how this could happen. Injury leading to a TV timeout, leading to some other delay, and then they come out of it finally. 1st and 10. What's the play?
Right. Yeah. Very possible. Very possible. We are out of time. We will be back again tomorrow, starting at 3 o'clock with a brand new episode live from Blue Cross Arena for the Rochester Americans Hershey Bears Tilt tomorrow night.
Yeah, Pride of Spencerport. Nathan Page joining us, Marty Baran. We will also be talking a lot of Amherst hockey. Join us tomorrow.
All right, BetMGM tonight with the big noise on the way next on the Fan Rochester. Have a great night. Talk to you tomorrow at 3.
You're listening to the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on